All right, we're on the air live. It is the the Monday night, getting ahead of myself. It is the Monday night Stunthangar Hangouts, and it is July the 1st, 2019. And y'all know what that means. That means we take our Stunthangar Hangouts calendars and switch from Team Lionsky, who has been on there since June, and is it upside down? No, it's okay. Been on there since June, Mike and Sam, and we now switch to Steve McBride's Patriot. And so Steve now gets to grace our Stunthangar camera for the Stunthangar calendar for the whole month of July. Welcome, Steve. And thanks, Gary Sinclair, who made the calendars up for us. Pretty cool. Okay, we've got a month of summer behind us. And welcome. We will hang out here as usual until midnight at least. And then if the conversation is great, we'll go on into the wee hours of the morning with the diehards. And the links are posted in the usual places. And the chat box is open. The links are in the Stunthangar control line forums at the bench thread. If you are a member of Stunthangar and logged in, then you can go there and click the link to come in to tonight's video. And you got to have a camera and a microphone to do that. It'll be the post with today's date in the title. And otherwise, you can go to the Stunthangar YouTube homepage and watch the video live there. And you got a text chat box that you can use to communicate with us, just like Jack Snavely's already doing. Hi, Jack. And so with that, we get started. And welcome. Hope some people will come in and visit me. And let's see, what do we got going on here? I had a pretty good weekend. I hope y'all did too. I told everybody to do something fun and come back and tell us about it on Monday. So we're here for that, or anything else you want to ask or tell us about. Wow, super chat donation just came in from Jack. Thank you, Jack. I appreciate that. And for all of those of you that are watching the YouTube side, there's a block $sign at the bottom of the chat column, and if you click that, you can donate a little bit of walking around change to Sparky for server fees and for equipment for broadcasting from the contests like Huntersville, Triple Tree, the Nats, Brodak, and bringing it to you sometimes live and always in the reruns. And all of these Stunthangar video hangouts are in the reruns. You can get those on Sparky's Stunthangar YouTube channel, or you can go to my Rusty K YouTube channel, and I've got them all organized with nothing but the video hangouts in chronological order. Little slimmer that way, it's easier to find, but Sparky's is also combined with interesting stuff like build threads and how-tos and tutorials. And so whatever your choice is for that, either one of those YouTube channels, mine or Sparky's, will get you reruns of the show. And make sure I unmute my speakers. Okay, we're ready to go. And we've got the usual message up here tonight that says Hangouts on the air, and it's going away. Oh, they've got a date now. Hangouts on air is going away August 1st. For quick streaming, try youtube.com/webcam. So now, finally, for the first time ever, they've given us a date. And let me close that message so it's not staring me in the face the whole time. So we're going to have to come up with an alternative plan for our show, but one way or another, we'll keep a live Hangouts going, whether it's using YouTube and Google, or whether it's using something else. Depends on what they offer. So we appreciate y'all that come so regularly to us here. Spoke with Dennis today. He's one of our valued regular guests, and he's going to be out this week. He's got 4th of July things and family stuff going on, so Dennis won't be gracing our entertainment for this week, but he'll be back. And I appreciate all you people. If anybody wants to click the link and come in live, it'll save me from having to sit here and make up things to talk about for the next half hour. Meanwhile, I'm here, got my coffee, got cigarettes, got everything I need for a show. So Jack, you're my only, well, we got 8 people watching on YouTube, but you're the only one that's signed in so far. Why don't you tell me what you've been doing this weekend? Did you go flying, or have you been working on a model or anything like that? And if you have, type it in, tell us about it. Let's see, what else have we got? That's about it. Monday's slow, and I'm always kind of tired on Monday nights for whatever reason. So hopefully we'll have an easy show tonight. Sometimes Mondays are actually the busiest shows. There's no real pattern. Fridays get wild in a different way. Oh, I know. I was looking at my new model aviation magazine today, which I don't always look at, but I picked it up and thumbed through it for a minute and went to toss it on my pile of as yet unread ones, and realized that last month's model aviation had a picture of a Saturn V rocket on the front of it, and of course it's this month the upcoming anniversary of the Apollo 11 mission, and there's a good article about Neil Armstrong, the first man to walk on the moon, and he is a huge model aviation enthusiast. He started building planes from the time he was a child, and there's a whole story about his mom buying him a plane. In the story, he had a choice between a 10-cent plane and a 20-cent plane, and she asked him which one he wanted, and he chose the 20-cent plane, of course, and he built it, and then never looked back. And I don't remember exactly how old he was at the time, but he had a younger brother that came along a little while after he got started, and when they were both old enough to play together with this, then his older brother was his gopher while he was building. And he would take multiple kits and combine parts and kit bash them, and he got more and more sophisticated as things went on. And actually, I guess when he was a teenager, I don't know the exact timeline, but he built a wind tunnel in their basement. They lived in Ohio, and he fired it up and blew all the circuit breakers in the house. But once they did get it going, that it was actually a successful wind tunnel, and some of it is in parts of it are scattered among various aviation museums. So that's interesting. And after hey Gary, how you doing? Yeah, my voice is weak. Yeah, I'm a little hoarse. I've got some kind of must be an allergy or something. I was afraid I was. Excuse me. All you had to do was mention it, and now it's all over me. Um, I think it's an allergy or something. My nose has been running and sinus, so I get stopped up once in a while, and I haven't heard of anybody else having colds. I don't think anything's going around, so hopefully I'm okay that way. And Gerald Wimmer, hey Gerald, how are you? You're the well, I'm sorry, I'm only about half here tonight. As Gary spotted, my voice is weak. I think my brain also is too. So I'm going to have y'all help me out tonight. Not feeling all that great, but yeah, we read Gerald. Just waiting on some other guests to come in and hopefully start up some conversations. Yeah, my voice is better now, Gary. All I got to do is hack and cough a couple of times, and it'll come right back. And a shot of coffee never hurts. But anyway, that was interesting. I did not get to finish because I didn't have time this afternoon. I did not get to finish reading the whole article about Neil Armstrong, but I think I read 2 of the 3 or 4 pages dedicated. And it looked like a pretty good article, so that's worth. If you don't look at your model aviations, or if you just use them for uh, epoxy paper, then that one's worth looking at if you're interested in that sort of thing. I did get out to the shop a little bit this weekend, and of course, as usual, my same story. I wanted to spray some paint on the Hyper Viper, but every time I pick it up, I see things that need to be sanded, or now it's superfill. I've found a couple of places where I obviously rolled a piece of balsa wood around on top of a sewing pin. I've got those sewing pins with the round plastic balls on the head. And of course, it makes a snaky little dent in the balsa when you do that. And I've got a couple of those in the stabilizer and elevator. So I got to get the super fill out and smooth that kind of thing out. And the closer you get to painting, the more minutiae there is to worry about taking care of. And I probably ought to just stop caring what it's going to look like and just paint the dang thing. But that's where I am. I got my son to come out to the shop with me and look at my planes. He doesn't get out there very often, but he's got one. He's got a PT-19 out there, but we hadn't flown together in ages, and he's not nearly as interested in it as I am. That's just not his thing. But he always had fun pitting for me when I flew. He's been to contests and pitted for me and that sort of thing. Likes to come watch. Somebody out there, come visit me, you guys. Let me double check, make sure my thread on Stunthangar is working. I'm sure it is because I'm pretty sure I saw it post. And yeah, there it is. Yep, it's alive. Yeah, so if you go to the at the bench thread in Stunthangar, the thread is waiting for you. Oh, I hear somebody beating around out there. Let me let Gerald in. Hey, Gerald, just a second, and you're in. How are you this evening?
So. I've got mouth ulcers again. I seem to get them when I get run down. So if I have to go, it's because my throat's getting too sore talking, or mouth's getting too sore, tongue's all ulcers on it.
Yeah, that's a sign you've overdone it. Yeah, some people get those little herpes ulcers when their immune system fades a little bit. I'm afraid I'm fading a little bit today. I've kind of got I was talking about it a minute ago when Gary pointed out my voice was hoarse, but I think I've got my voice back for a few minutes. Oh, here comes Pat Kennedy. Let me let Pat in. Well, I'm trying to let you in, Pat. Hang on just a second. That ought to do it. Now I got
Yeah.
And turn your mic on. There we go. How you doing tonight, Pat?
Hey, Rusty. Hi, Gerald.
Okay.
Stop by and keep you company.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Did you hear me pleading for somebody to come in and bail me out?
A little bit.
Yeah, I hate to have to do that, but some nights I can just rattle on, and other nights I don't have the energy to do it. And this is one of those nights.
The thing that happened to you last week, that's why I bought a Mac. Every time I turned my computer on, it had 40 updates from Windows, and I don't leave it turned on. I think everyone leaves their computer turned on, and that stuff happens while they're sleeping. But
yeah,
you go turn it on to use it, you can't use it because it's an update.
It can be very frustrating. Yeah.
No, I never turned mine off.
You leave it on all the time.
Yeah. That way it can stay synchronized with my other
Yeah.
phone and everything else, phone, tablet, and everything.
Yeah.
So we're all on the same page. But I don't know, there's different schools of thought on it. If you are nothing but a utility computer user who doesn't care about synchronizing your accounts and any of that, then turning it off is fine. I do think that power supplies don't last as long if you turn them off and on all the time.
How about power supply? But the chip is bad to get hot and cold and hot and cold. That chip was better if it's just stays at
Steady state. Yeah.
Hi, Steve.
Hey, Steve.
Hey, man. Hey, guys.
Michigan.
Yeah, Michigan.
You're
Hot.
Yeah, we had a whole family of Michiganians on the other night. We had the Skukalek family.
Up and
We had John, Mike, and Annie Skukalek all on at the same time. They were on YouTube, but they were interesting.
It was quite neat, the fact that they all fly. It was amazing. They're going to load a video, I think, from their son flying.
Yeah, that's right.
It sounded a really good show. You covered so many different areas, the trimming areas and speed controller problems and timers.
And spectral lines too. We did a good talk on that.
Yeah, it was an excellent talk. I thought I'll post some links to that because that really answered virtually every Spectra question you could have. It really was thorough. And some of the questions were really good. They sort of pulled in the argument and made it seem a very concise session, 40-minute session on Spectra that answered most people's questions, I imagine.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of Skukaleks, John just dropped in. Hey, John.
I'll get the chat going.
Mm-hmm. So what you been working on, Pat? You got any models on the table?
Just a bunch of cars I'm doing. This one's a Mercury Capri. I was just getting the pop-out chat set up. Here we go. Where's the box? Doesn't fly too good, but
Yeah. I'll put some control lines and a bell crank on it and see what happens. I can send you a couple of Cox engines. So I think you bought a handful of Cox engines, didn't you?
Who?
You didn't you get some?
No, not me. I was probably one of the guys that went to Brodak. Got a grab bag or something. They used to have that Cox Chaparral, if you remember. It was a little Chaparral car that with the Cox engine.
Yeah. Oh, really? I didn't remember Cox made a Chaparral. I know when we were playing with the big slot cars that we took down to the slot car track downtown, that my buddy had a Chaparral. It was called a Chaparral Renali, whatever that means. But it was a pretty cool looking car.
It had the low wing like this car here. It didn't have that Chaparral with the high wing.
Yeah.
Back then it was just a regular low one, but wasn't that long ago. I still had parts of it. I think I finally got rid of it in the basement, but stuff's getting old. But it had the tether in the center where it would just run, or you could put it on a string.
Yeah.
Not as much.
You could lose one putting it. You could lose one just turning it loose, I guess.
Yeah.
Probably best off tethering it. Did anybody hold on to? I mean, like we do with control line planes, only rolling. Does anybody hold on to them and run them around in circles while they're holding them?
Not that I know of, but I was just a kid when I was doing that. I was lucky my dad exposed me to a lot of those things, like the models. And
yeah. Was he a modeler?
Yeah. Dig out some I found some photos. I want to see if you guys can tell me what the airplane is, but my dad's friend built it. I'm pretty sure it's a Nobler, but it might not be. It's something I think he created on his own. Let me take a second. Here. Really old.
Oh, here comes Jeff Riley. Let me let Mr. Riley in.
Hey, Jeff.
Hi, Jeff.
Hello, everybody else.
There you go, Jeff. You're in.
I'm still trying to figure out how to get my picture off that widescreen thing.
What?
Is my thumbnail still widescreen?
Oh, you're on your computer. Your picture, your thumbnail is widescreen. Everybody's is.
It'll be that way.
When you look at everybody else, they've got a little thumbnail, but every individual person's thumbnail to them is big, is wide.
Oh, okay. I thought I did something wrong.
No, mine's like that. Yeah, I remember wondering about that too. Okay, let me share what Pat's showing us with everybody so we can see if we can identify. Okay, everybody should be looking at that now. That's kind of hard to see.
Yeah, it's a bit very.
Can of Duke's fuel like that one of your guys has on his curio behind him.
Oh, Al has Al Ferreira. It's got
It says Middlesex on his thing. Al, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
This is my dad here, and his two buddies that got him started in radio control, you know, firing up the plane my dad crashed.
yeah.
This is not a very good, need a side view. See if I got to find a picture. The guy built his own plane, and it was really neat looking. This is part of my early start in the model rockets and rubber band planes. These are all
Is that a mid-air collision we're looking at?
1969, 68 or 9.
Are we looking at a mid-air collision?
No, it's just kind of stuff I got as a kid is false airplane kits or rockets.
Sorry, I never accused anybody's plane of being a mid-air collision before.
Sure, we have a better side view of this. Nothing's written on. 1969. This whole park here is motorhomes and not motorhomes, mobile. You know, the mobile home park.
Yeah, I am familiar with that.
Flying fields long gone. What's Jeff been doing? Pretty much the other night.
Just the video feed.
Let's see what. Let me click on Jeff. Hang on, Jeff, and I'll show what you had just a second ago. Okay, Jeff, you got the stage now. Show us those pictures again.
That wasn't me.
It wasn't?
No, I just dropped my iPad actually coming out here. I'm trying to avoid the sun. Where I'm sitting right now faces west, and being I'm only 4 miles from the beach, it gets brutal here in the afternoon in the summertime.
Right. Must be. It's finally got hot here in Michigan, so you must really be cooking there.
Actually, it's been cold. Today was the first day it was actually shorts weather.
You got the weather now where it's the air conditioning's too cold and outside's too hot. You know how when it gets like that?
No, out here I need air conditioning maybe 3 days out of the year.
Speaking of air conditioning, I think I need to go crank mine a little cooler. I'm sitting here working up a sweat. In fact, I am going to step away for a second. Y'all try not to burn the house down while I'm away. I'll be right back.
So,
I'll be right back.
How are you keeping, Steve?
Oh.
How are you, Steve? Very, very quiet there, Steve.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking for, just listening and looking for
searching
a room for the gnats.
Ah. A couple of weeks now for you, Nats.
Yeah, it's 2 weeks from Wednesday. We'll be leaving. So
But they don't book out all in advance. When we go to our nationals, it's really hard to get a booking because ours is just after Christmas and it's very hard to book.
Well, it looks like everything's pretty much open here. So, at the Days Inn anyway.
Indiana.
Yeah, yep.
We've normally got to book months in advance, 3 months in advance to get a decent hotel before our nationals. But because it's in a small town normally.
Well, the Days Inn is where I stayed before. I heard some bad things, but maybe they.
By Muncie.
Yeah.
Are you going with Samantha to the next, or is she unable to get the time off?
Yeah, she can get Thursday and Friday off. So the plan is that well, leave Wednesday when she gets out of work at about 6:30 at night, and she works only, I don't know, a few miles from my house, so we'll probably just drive here and then we'll take off, and or she can head back to her apartment and I'll pick her up there. But then we'll take off and drive there, spend the night, and then Thursday and Friday she can practice and we can get, and she'll fly Saturday as a senior, and then once all that's done, we'll head back, and she has to be back to work at 6:30 at night. So she'll have to sleep in the car or whatever. She can work then. So
Playing in practice.
huh?
Often she flying.
How often is she flying?
Yeah, to stay ready for it.
She's flown, I don't know. She's probably put in 5 flights this year is all.
The weather, we haven't been able to, right?
Yeah, there's probably been a few days that she could have flown, but she's working.
Yeah, it's hard to get up.
So, and then she's got to be to work at 6:30, so she has to leave the house by 6. I usually never get home any earlier than 5:30. So, yeah, it makes it tough, but it doesn't take her very long. I mean, she was cutting in hell of bottoms here 2 days ago. But last Thursday is when we flew. Yeah, we flew Thursday night, and yeah, she had her hourglass back and all that within just a few flights. So, but we'll try to get a couple more times out with her airplane, and that's her flying one of my vectors. I got to put her world plane back together. It's a take apart. So and I spent an hour getting the flaps on, and then I found out I put the wrong wires in the wrong flaps, so now I got to pull them back out and redo it again.
You just leave it together most of the time if it doesn't need to come apart for travel.
Yeah, it hasn't been out of the box since we left France. But I fixed the tail. It cracked that, and I still have to finish fixing the cowl. It busted that all to hell, but it put that in about 6 pieces. I think I only got 1 piece left to put back on, and it's going to look like hell. But yeah, it got dented and everything else. There's some dents in it now and stuff. So it is what it is. But yeah, coming from New Jersey to Grand Rapids, I think as they flew over the airport, they just threw it out.
Who's got music going in the background?
Probably me.
Yeah. YouTube will actually penalize us for that. They'll demonetize the video. I've had that happen before, so
that better? You can't hear it now?
No, I can't hear it now.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Oh, no worries.
Hate to deprive anybody of their music, but one time I made a tutorial out in the shop, and I just had my little Bluetooth tower speaker going with Pandora, and they banned my video and said that it wasn't available on some devices and in some countries. And I think it all resolved after a while. I think I filed an appeal, and they changed it back, but it took a while.
Yeah, because anything they play, if there's a song on it, they have to pay the artist now.
Yeah.
Oh, is that copyright?
Yeah,
That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. If you want to play music on YouTube, they give you a list of music you can choose to put in your videos. And I guess if you put your own in there, it's got to meet up with whatever criteria. I'm not sure how it all works. I've only put music in by accident before, and so that's how I know about it.
There's a whole lot of rules for everything in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we look, but me and the boys.
How do musicians make money now? They have to, they have to tour, I guess, but that's hard work.
Yeah.
You can't just sit in your studio and cut albums and sell them like they used to and make lots of money.
They closed all the record stores.
No, your songs sell for $1 a piece on iTunes.
Mm-hmm.
Do they? Okay, iTunes is still a paid service, right?
Yeah, but what they say that when they sell for $1, the artist was only getting like 10 cents.
Probably.
8 or 10 cents. It was something like that.
It was really cheap, and it used to be that when they sold a record, they usually got $1 for every record. You know.
Yeah, but that's when records used to sell for $3.50.
Yeah, and they got $1 out of it.
I can't remember what I was paying for albums in the end days of vinyl.
Yeah, they got paid so much by the album and so much by a single. And that went away with I can't remember that first one that pirated all the songs, and
they really got us growing up because they sold us a 45, and then they had 8 tracks that were really cool. Then we bought the cassette from the same band.
Yeah,
we got the CD from the same band.
Yeah,
I've already paid 4 or 5 times to these bands for music. I want my music, So they come up with this electronic stuff, and you got to pay again.
You know what I really don't like about the electronic music is when you listen, if you want to listen to an album, for instance, in other words, a compilation of music the way it was originally produced, if it's the old stuff that was originally on vinyl, they're out of order, and it matters what song follows another in so many cases. Like Led Zeppelin, Livin' Lovin' Maid has to follow Heartbreaker, in my humble opinion, and
Be a sin if it didn't.
yeah. And with Blue Oyster Cult's first 3 albums, that was my favorite band ever, is during their first 4, including the live one, and those songs transitioned from one to the next, and the transitions are lost now. And what I like about Blue Oyster Cult is they actually either ended their songs rather than repeating the same line 55 times like so many bands did. They actually ended the songs, or they transitioned with some really cool sound, in between that connected the 2 songs, and all of that's just all broken up now. So it just doesn't work for me.
So you're an old hippie just like me. Don't tell me. It's probably next on the list would probably be what? Heart, Grateful Dead. Zeppelin. It would probably be Sabbath.
I'll tell you when you strike out. I'll tell you when you swing a strike. You hadn't struck yet.
I like Ted Nugent. I know he's one of your fans.
Oh, you know what? The Amboy Dukes was one of their songs, Journey to the Center of the Mind. That was my first favorite rock song ever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do. How about Savoy Brown?
The one you got
I
any?
love Savoy Brown. In
Right.
fact, my favorite Savoy Brown album is probably Looking In.
You got Pony Express on your YouTube channel, Rusty.
Yes, I do.
Guess who was one of my favorites?
Tell us while I let Rich in.
The Carpenters. No,
Oh, you're shitting me.
Guess who?
Oh yeah.
who was it?
Guess
who?
Guess
The
who
band.
was the name of the band?
And Guess Who was the first band I ever saw live?
Running Back to Saskatoon.
I have that. Then I went into Nazareth, Montrose.
Montrose. Okay.
Bad Motorcycle, Ronnie Montrose. That reminds me of college.
Can't leave out Thin Lizzy.
Yeah.
I'll let Uriah Heep and one.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I've got Uriah Heep on my Pandora list.
I saw Uriah Heep in 1982. I saw him with Def Leppard.
I saw him in the 70s. I never did like Def Leppard.
Def Leppard sucked. Uriah Heep was great. And we went for the Def Leppard concert.
But yeah, we had a lot of heart back when they came out.
Yeah, Seattle Rock.
Yeah, heart. They were.
Yeah,
they were good.
Heart was good. They rocked out pretty good. Another female band that I really like is Joan Jett.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Joan Jett was pretty good.
Yeah. See, I was into Joan Jett way before that when she was in the Runaways.
Okay.
If you remember the Runaways.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Vicky.
I remember Joan Jett and the Blackhearts.
Rita
That's
Ford.
the first I remember.
Yeah, she was in the Runaways when she was like 16 years old. And I had a girlfriend that was into some real, back in the time, way before they became popular, like the Runaways and even Aerosmith, some of their first stuff. I mean, it never was real commercial when they first came out, but she had all that kind of stuff. So I knew Aerosmith before Toys in the Attic when they hit it big.
Toys in the Attic and Rocks were two of their better albums, their earlier ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, Toys in the Attic. I think that's the only one I've got. I gave my son all of my vinyl now.
And I still got the only record I have left is Jefferson Starship.
Let me let somebody in. Let's see who's. Oh, that's Tryon coming in. Oh, there we go, Tryon. Good evening.
Good evening. Oh no, not that guy again.
Which one? Yeah, him.
You guys
You're
ready for
probably going to
next?
want to talk about airplanes now, huh? We're
What?
sitting here talking about rock music.
Oh, I see. Rock
Got
and roll.
off to a bit of a shaky start tonight, but we leveled off when we hit rock music and kind of cruised on that for a while. Anybody wants to talk about airplanes, I'm welcome any airplane discussion.
Well, I'll publicly thank a guy at our club for giving us a whole lot of combat wings. He gave me and the boys 3 different combat wings. Wow.
Good.
They're just F2D style combat wings. So we'll probably just put OS-25s or Fox 25s on them, whatever.
Oh,
Yeah.
Otto had a great time doing the combat the other week. He really enjoyed the flying part of that. And other people just wanted to encourage him into it. So we got given a whole lot of combat wings to make use of. And we had a good flying session on Sunday, but he was helping another young guy who's only got 3 flying. He was flying a little thing, and I picked the wrong model for them, and they're whipping around at like 90 miles an hour. And I was just thinking, oh, heck, I stuffed up on that one. You got this little 3-year-old guy, and Otto's quite tall now, and he's having to bend right down trying to help the guy. And it was spectacular to watch when they finally crashed. But yeah, I should have picked a much slower model.
Oh, Gary Sinclair says he likes Tina Turner. Yeah, Tina rocks.
Yeah, I like Tina Turner. Yeah. Going back in time. really good artist. It's hard to ignore the fact there's some really good people out there like Bo Diddley as well. That was just so talented for its time. It sort of carries really well. The music still sounds good all these years later.
I've seen so many concerts and kind of had faded off, over the last decade or so. But lately, my son's been taking me and Holly. He's taken us to see. We went to Raleigh and saw the Grateful Dead. Well, it's Dead and Company now, but it's great. It was better than the Dead concert that I saw in 1976 in Atlanta. Actually, it was better than that. It was at an outdoor venue too, and that's always good for the Dead. You really need to be at an outdoor venue for the Grateful Dead. And he took us to see Motley Crue. That was an indoor concert in Charlotte, and Alice Cooper opened for him. And a lot of people scoff when I say Alice Cooper, but I like Alice Cooper.
Yeah, so do I. School's out for summer.
Yeah.
Yeah, the great historian Alice Cooper. He's got many sides to him, Alice Cooper.
Yeah, he's from Michigan.
Yeah, I thought he was a northerner. I'd forgotten that. He used to do a radio show that I would catch once in a while on maybe Sunday nights.
Yeah, it was crazy because I lived in Wyoming, but there was a Myers store, I don't know, a couple miles from my house. And a friend of mine went into Myers at night and he stood behind Alice Cooper in the grocery line. His grandmother lived in Grand Rapids, and he came to see his grandma and stopped by and picked up some stuff for her. He talked to him for a minute and off he went.
What about you, Trey? You're an old rocker from way back.
Not really. I just listened to some music back then, and what was my favorite? Queen. Queen was my favorite back then.
Queen,
Yeah.
That's an extremely talented band. Yeah, Queen's great.
I thought you were going to name some Russian band that we never heard of.
I also liked Sting at the time, or was it Sting or Police? The Police. I like the
The
Police.
Police, that was Sting. Yeah.
Yeah, I like the Police better than I liked when he went out as Sting.
There was a song was called "Englishman in New York." That's perhaps my favorite one.
Yeah.
Some of that, that stuff evolved from the 80s, and I've got a bad taste in my mouth from the mid to late 70s and early 80s. The music just went to hell, and there were some pretty good bands that came out of it, but it took me a while to actually give them credit where credit is due. And Guns N' Roses is another. It took me a while to warm up to them.
I like those. I like them.
Yeah, I seen them in concert. Them and Aerosmith. That was a hell of a concert.
Together.
How about Bon Jovi?
Yeah, Guns N' Roses. That was when their album first came out, and they were opening act for Aerosmith.
Yeah, I like John Bon Jovi. All right. I don't have any of his music, but
yeah, Duran Duran.
I never cared for Duran Duran too much. Some of their stuff is okay. I'm just not a hardcore fan of all their music. I mean, I got friends. They really when they buy an album, they like every song on it.
Yeah.
And I like one or two on an album or whatever. But there was just, like Queen. It seems like every one of their albums, I always liked every song on a Queen album.
I always fall back on the blues-based stuff, like somebody mentioned Savoy Brown, and then 10 years after Alvin Lee, and just Stevie Ray Vaughan, those are among my favorites. Eric Clapton.
Yeah. In the late 70s, I could have went to Bob Seger's house, and me and my buddy didn't go. This girl had the hots for my buddy Pete, the best friend, and invited us to go to Detroit to Seger's house. But we weren't, he played more bubblegum. We weren't into Seger, and we didn't go. And we seen pictures of all of them playing because her dad was Bob Seger's best friend from kindergarten.
Yeah, I detested Seger when he first came out with Night Moves. That also reminds me of college.
Yeah.
You're actually our YouTube audience is thinning out while we talk about rock music instead of airplanes. So if anybody's got anything for us,
I got something for you.
okay.
Well, when we talked about the control system on my plane, I just couldn't, you just couldn't see it very well because it was inside the plane. It was kind of hard to show. But it happens that I got my new fuselage with the new parts, and I just took them out to do some TLC on them. So just to show, this is my bell crank basically.
Oh, yeah.
Very
Yeah,
nice.
that was fascinating when you were showing us in the fuselage the other night. Let me make you big so everybody can see you. Okay, you have the stage.
So this is the ends. When I put my controls in here, just put them down in, and this snaps in place. So what's in between these two pieces, like it's a little ball with a channel that goes kind of like on a slope up and down. So you have
Mhm.
the positions that are open. See, and I just like it's secured in this position or it's secure in this position. I have the two positions, right?
Yeah, you can actually hear a click when you're in person, but you can't over the internet. You can hear that little ball go in place.
Let's see. Where's that?
Oh yeah, there it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's that piece, and this is the channel on which the ball bearing runs, and this is the opposite part. So the ball bearing just goes in a channel like this, right? So when the ball when this moves, you know, you have the movement, right?
Yep.
So that's basically what's over there, but there are two of them. It's one on the top, one on the bottom. Kind of go like that.
Yeah.
In a pair. Now, another thing that you guys couldn't see back then is this. Okay, I'm just gonna take this really. Can you see this? So this is the piece on which the push rod attaches. And do you see this? Do you see that has like a dovetail in it?
Yeah. Yeah, we can see it a little bit.
Like a shoulder.
I do. Yeah, I had to look for a minute, but I can see the dovetail.
Yeah. In person, it's hard. That is so small. I mean, that's kind of like magnified there. I mean, but yeah, it's really something to see how small of a dovetail that is.
You see that?
Yep. And then the angle on the holder you can pick up if you turn it.
Mm-hmm. So what happens here? This can be adjusted anywhere. See that?
Yeah.
So it can be adjusted from here all the way up to here. So I can get any kind of throw on the push rods. I can make it less sensitive or more sensitive, but depending on which position I go.
Mhm.
And the only reason for all this, you see all the screws in here, is because if I have you only have so much. Where is it? Let's put it like this. So you only have so much where you can hold on it, right? So say I want it in this position over here. And because this is as much straw as I need to get the job done, then I just take this out. My locking.
Pick another hole in.
Move it back a notch.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And just move it over there and lock it in. Like this.
Yeah.
And from this point, I can even fine tune a little bit. I can just move it in a little bit like that, lock it down. And this is just really an infinite position of, you know, I can go anywhere from there all the way to the top. So I don't need to change my spacing in the handle. I can do it in over here inside the plane, or I can do it at the handle as well.
Mhm.
But since I'm planning to have a handle that's not adjustable, I guess I'm just going to revert to do it over here. So on one side, it's adjustment for this. On the opposite side is the same thing, adjustment for the ball bearing. So by moving this in and out, I can make it different levels of export response.
Yeah, flap to elevator ratio can be independently adjusted.
Yes, so yeah, they're all both independently adjustable. Yes, I can do something different for the elevator and something different for the flaps if I want
Yeah.
to, and any combination in between. And the cool part is you're not tied up by the any of the current systems where like once you put your belt crank in place and you connect it to your flaps and to the elevator, you're just stuck with it.
Yeah, it's one's a slaved off of the other, and you're stuck with it.
Yep.
Yeah, that does make sense. A lot of sense having everything adjustable like that.
Yeah, and it's easily be accessible, as you saw like last time when I showed you. It's right there inside the fuselage, and with just a normal Allen wrench, just you reach everything and do a change on the fly if you need to.
You got the other.
What inspired that design for you, Troy? Did you just think that up, or did you see something that put you on that path?
Actually, what inspired it is the necessity of finding a setup that works for the plane. Because I didn't know what was going to work. The plane is brand new. The design was brand new. The aerodynamics are brand new. It's nothing like it anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
The airfoil is plain an ACA, but it's a lot thinner than everybody else, whatever they're flying, right? I think the thinnest I've seen is about 18% or so, and that's kind of rare. Mine it's at 16%, so it's a lot thinner than anything else. And most of them have like 20% or more on a wingtip. Mine is 14 on the tip, so it was completely different. So I didn't know like will I need what am I going to need? Am I going to need more flaps, less flaps, more elevator, less elevator?
Mm-hmm.
What ratio is going to happen? I had absolutely no clue. So,
Well, I was told that a Nobler was like 15%,
possible.
but I don't know if that's true or not.
I'm not sure if I'm buying that because no, I think the Nobler it's about 18%, and I'm saying this because I flew a Nobler and a Twister. They were both powered by the same motor with the same propeller, running at the same regime, right? So my guesstimate is that they're both just as draggy. So the drag on a Twister is equal to the drag of a Nobler, kind of very similar-ish, right?
I put the wings together, and the Nobler is a lot thinner than a Twister.
Yeah, but it has more wing area, right?
No,
Or
I
does
don't
it?
think so.
400 and something. They're about the same.
Yeah.
Okay, then yeah,
How that's
yeah.
compared. I don't remember now.
I don't know. I mean, I have no clue.
I thought the Nobel was about 500 and the Twister is about 470 or something. But when you go back to the very old models from the 40s, like the Lethal Lucy, they've got a really thin airfoil, but they had limited horsepower. They're flying on ignition. They had very little horsepower, so they went with the thin airfoil. But the Nobler is that generation like after the Chief, where they've definitely got a thicker airfoil. They've got more horsepower there. They've got the 35s with more power than an old spark ignition would have had.
Yeah.
Well, I know that either the original Nobler, then there's the green box Nobler, then there's the Gieske Nobler, and I know the Gieske Nobler was thicker, and I don't know about. I heard the green box was also that when they came out, they built it different, and however they did it or whatever, it became a little thicker, and then Gieske made it a little thicker yet. But yeah, they kept getting from a Fox 35 up to Super Tiger 46 and all that kind of stuff. So they got more horsepower and they started just thickening up wings.
Yeah, you've got the Gieske Nobler. You've pretty much got the modern airfoil the glow motors would have used. But when you go back in time, a lot of the kits are the very narrow airfoil to suit the boxes, so that squeeze more in a box and more in a sheet. Vico were famous for doing that, for giving up their teardrop shaped airfoils. What are they called? Where they actually the polywog, so they could put one against the other and get more out of a rib. but it wasn't great for aerodynamics.
That's
Yeah, because what the first Nobler was built in 48.
Oh, really? Was it that far back? I did not know it was
It's
that
an
old.
old time. It's actually an old time airplane. So I don't know when old time ends.
I thought it was designed in 60s or
No,
It's old time phase 2. Old time with flaps.
Yeah, they got old time with and without flaps.
Yeah,
Yeah,
phase 2.
like I said, the green box then came out, and that might have been in the 60s.
yeah.
They changed a lot of things from the original Nobler.
Len flew his Nobler at Brodax in old time phase 2.
Yeah, because there's no phase ones that can beat a Nobler. You know, because
Elevator only.
yeah. So another reason for which I went to the thin airfoil, and I said, you know, I'm gonna cut it to thin airfoil because I can always make it bigger, but I can't make it smaller.
yeah,
So the idea was that, you know, we're gonna start with this as as the first try, and then and if we need to go to a thicker airfoil and find out that we don't like it or whatever, you know, I said, yeah, we can always make it bigger, right?
yeah.
I can always put it back in a machine, make a little bigger airfoil, put the fuselage back in the machine, cut the rib layout, you know,
The wing
like
root, yeah.
yeah.
And
So
here comes
polish it
Leonard
again.
Burrell.
Hey, let Leonard in. He's finally awake.
Yeah, I got you, Leonard. Hang on.
Good morning, Lauren.
There you go. You're in.
Friday and find out the whole show.
Woke up about 10 minutes ago.
Nah, you're not wearing the same clothes.
No. Oh man. I think I might have been tired the other night.
Yeah, either that or we were that boring. Actually,
No.
we had a lot of
Not a
conversation.
bit. It was great, but I somehow I woke up. It was about 4.
You locked up, Lynn.
No, I'm still here. You there?
Oh,
Hello?
yeah.
Yeah, video just got stuck.
Oh, how's everybody doing tonight?
Good.
I'm kind of running on my last leg tonight, but I'm managing. So y'all came in and bailed me out, so I'm doing fine now. When I was on my own, I was dying in here.
Oh my God. Well, we won't leave you on your own for
Yeah.
too long.
When I go back and watch it reruns, I'll be cringing. I don't usually watch the reruns.
Hey,
unless I
you
really
won't be cringing it. You won't be cringing as much as I was when I went back and watched the reruns the other night. You guys had a lot of fun with me sleeping.
Yeah, when everybody signed off, me and Jeff stayed on and talked about finishing and doping for a while you snoozed over there in the background.
Didn't hear a bit of it.
Oh, let's see who's holding up a plane there. I got you, Steve. Hang on. Presenting.
What is it?
Okay, you got the stage, Steve. What you got there?
That's a little Golden Hawk.
Oh, Golden Hawk. That's the Walt Musiano.
Yeah, it was a Musiano, but
Hold it up higher.
That's cute.
Yeah. Bob Zambelli's built so many of those Musiano planes, but he's got them just with paper thin balsa fuselages.
yeah. Well, what it is that I forget what I gave 25 or 30 bucks for it. Samantha wanted it, but it's all painted and silk spanned, and it's a beautiful airplane. It and no power. It won't loop. If you can see that, you crack the fuse trying to loop it.
Bob's got a removable nose on his. You can take the
More
whole
power
engine
behind
and
it.
gas tank off the front of it.
Yeah, but it was when Samantha moved out, she didn't take it with her. She had it in her bedroom on a shelf for years, but
Naomi and I just built 2 of those.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I'll go get them.
It looks like a 1940s PT-19.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of, sort of.
Back before Cox was putting them in a plastic mold.
And Blackhawk remade the PT-19 as the Bolsa model after the Cox thing finished. And it was quite neat just seeing that they'd made a new PT-19 for people's 049s.
Yeah, if you look at this thing, you can see they tied the lead outs. Look how much copper wire is on there. You think they were going to put a 76 on this damn thing or something?
Yeah.
They're like, holy shit. Put a
Pat,
damn
what
ounce of copper wire winding it all up. But yeah, we bought it. But that was just something when she was like 11 years old, she just had to have.
Oh, it looks great. Yeah.
what you making there, Pat?
I'll just put free for free.
Oh, check you out. That's cool. Is that a racing car?
Yeah, it's a Tim I could. I used to fly with my dad 50 years ago and like listening to you guys. I'm just in your cheap rusty company and say hi to everybody. I've been watching for a couple of years and Steve's
Yeah, I remember you'd pop in on YouTube once in a while.
over there in Michigan by me on the west side. I'm on the east side.
When you first started popping in, that was back when we were getting those little trolls, teenagers coming in and disrupting us. And I was afraid you were one of them at first, but finally figured out you knew something that they didn't about
Yeah, Helmet Head hasn't got on here in a long time.
No, he tricked me into letting him in once or twice, but Sparky's got his IP banned now from the server side, so I don't think he could get in.
He was kind of funny though, and he really didn't do anything bad or anything, but
Well, except for posting never mind, I'm not going to even say what he posted. He did post some nasty stuff.
Oh, did he?
He and his friends did, yeah.
In the chat, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I still got a 50-year-old plane and I bought some new ones from Brodak. I showed you last time probably won't fly them, but just to build them again. Once I get into building, then I'll probably want to go fly them, but it's different than the plastic models, It's just, I remember, I'm lucky my dad exposed me to all that as a kid, so I can go back to it,
That's awesome.
But hearing all you guys are flying a 6-foot wingspan airplanes on a control line, it's like, I gotta see that. Last I knew, they were only, I didn't know they had the huge stuff. Like, I thought that was all RC.
All related, but doesn't really matter the size. It's the intent. It's still a model. It's still a model. You got your models there.
Fast ones are still pretty small, though, right? They're not. You don't see the 6-foot wingspans doing the 100-mile-an-hour thing. That's still a reasonable size plane, right?
Well, you can have just as much fun with the little ones as the big ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you ain't grinning when you land one of those fast little half-A planes, then you're doing something wrong.
You can have more of them, too, because they're smaller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you actually land them?
I've been known to roll out a landing here and there.
most of the half-A landings are like this.
Yeah, tumbling. Yeah.
And you hope you don't flip over.
Yeah, I've greased a few of them. Even the Sterling Yak 9 and Mustang, those are kind of like flying big half-A planes. They tend to like to nose roll when you land them in the grass, too.
Uh-huh.
They got that boingy landing gear on them.
One thing I noticed on these Hangouts, I watch one where the guys do the radio control buggies, too. Rock crawling and, off-road racing. I'll be sitting in a garage with hundreds of race cars behind them on racks, and you guys got all the airplanes hanging on a wall, and us model builders, we got model kits stacked all over the place.
Yeah, I think I asked you for some links to those forums one time. I don't know where I wrote them now, but
it's in a long
I never did check it out though.
I got you a long email I sent you. Hopefully you still got it. It's interesting when people are into stuff, they turn into collectors. Everyone.
Yeah.
You just have one.
No, can't put it on that. No, once you've got the bug, then it's very hard to stop.
Yep.
Yeah, once you get the bug, it's pretty easy to get a whole basement full of stuff, a whole garage full of stuff, a whole shed full of stuff. Next thing you know, you're inundated with stuff.
If you're lucky, you're still married, right?
Yep. Well, you got to get her into it too, like I did.
Yeah, right.
She has more kits than I do.
So what I just decided to do is that
Oh, look who's coming. I wasn't expecting Dennis tonight. Let's let the boy in. There we go.
no,
Hey, Dennis. You made it. How you doing tonight?
Hey,
Hey,
Catwood.
Dennis.
Oh,
yeah, yeah. Good evening, everybody.
nice
Good
meeting
evening.
You
Hey,
officially give us a full house now. This is as many as the Hangouts will hold.
All right. Well, I'm happy to report my grandson's team won both ends of the doubleheader. So,
Excellent.
Awesome.
Is he
yeah,
a,
that's it. Absolutely nothing to do with me, but what the heck?
what position does he play?
Mostly first base.
Oh,
Good for him.
that's a pretty important position. He must be a pretty good player.
He's pretty good size. One of the bigger players on his team, so he's a big target.
Yeah.
It's a 9-year-old league and whatever else, very much developmental and everything. But all in all, it's fun. It's fun to watch them.
I really enjoyed playing Little League Baseball
Mm-hmm.
when I was that age.
Yeah, put it in perspective. Their first game of the season, they lost it 12-11, and each team had one hit for the game.
Oh,
Wow.
And the
A
rest
lot
of
of
the rest,
pitches going
yeah,
on.
all the runs were on walks and hit batters and wild pitches and pass balls, and it was excruciating.
Yeah,
But,
that's Little League for you. And
yeah, but
occasionally college.
yeah, that's it. Well, they got the kids have been pitching a lot better, which means they're hitting a lot better. They got something to hit, stuff like that. It's been a lot more fun to watch these last few weeks. But
As the season goes on, it gets better.
that's it. Well, they got they're into tournaments now, so don't know how long that'll last. But
no parents fighting.
what's that?
There are no parents fighting over there.
No.
Nowadays,
No, yeah, I saw that report on one of the news stations about the 13-year-old umpire had to break up a parents' brawl or something like that. Like,
That is so
Yeah.
it was insane. Well, the some major league umpires heard about it, and they actually invited the kid and his parents to a ball game. They bought him tickets to, I think, one of the Denver or Colorado Rockies games or something like that. And I was like, yeah, yay umpires,
That's
for doing that. Yeah. But it's like, how in the world, how in the world do parents get that way?
it's got all the fun out of it.
Mm-hmm.
The fun.
Yeah, that's just a complete loss of perspective there.
Yeah.
That's bad parenting too. By example, that's the example you want to set. Don't get it.
Hey, we've seen people lose their perspective in controlling contests.
Who, me? Are you talking about me, Lenny? Oh,
No, I wouldn't do a thing like that, Dennis.
okay. All right. No, you do have to. Do have to remind yourself every now and then.
Oh,
Hey,
for sure.
guys, let's keep this in perspective here.
Why do we do this? Let me think now. Oh yeah, to have fun.
Some people take their sport, whether it's aeromodeling or soccer or rugby or whatever it is, way too seriously, and they forget the idea of fun. But it's nice when you can watch kids having fun and they're not being told, bullied around by parents and what they wanted to do. But,
You know what? I think kids have more fun if they just go outside and play by themselves, make their own teams, and just go at it.
Yeah.
Like we used to do when I was a kid.
Guaranteed.
I was
For
going
sure.
outside. Yeah, I was going outside. I was staying in my. I lived in one of those concrete buildings, those tall concrete buildings, and we had a bunch of kids around. So once the first kid was showing up with a ball, you know, everybody was just like, "Mom, I'm going out. See you, bye." And she wouldn't catch me back home till, you know, it was night outside or something like that. And we just get together, make our own teams, you know, have a good
Yeah,
fun
that's
time.
how it was when I was
Nobody was
growing up.
coaching us. Nobody was telling us what to do,
Yeah.
what works, what
Wait.
doesn't. We just had
We were
fun.
self-policing. We
Yeah, that's
did
what we
good.
always did with hockey and baseball all the time we were kids.
Yeah,
Yep.
we had
Yep.
fun.
We played
Made
strike
our own teams up and had a blast.
on the side of the school. We had a square rectangle painted for the strike zone. We played called strikeout ball. That way you didn't need a catcher.
Hmm.
You know,
That's right.
you just count the strikes and the balls, and everybody got to bat more often. And all you needed was a brick wall. You know, the side of the school always had that square on it.
That's
Perfect.
cool. That's
Yeah.
cool.
With the
The
hockey,
job done.
street hockey, you'd wear down the hocky sticks till there was no blade left. With a
Oh,
baseball,
you're playing with a blade that was a half, 3/4 of an inch thick.
Yep. That's exactly it. That's exactly
You
it.
guys remember the plastic blades you'd put on the sticks after you wore the? You break the stick and then put the plastic blade on it. Go over to the stove and heat it up and bend the blade to get a curve. Oh yeah,
It's all before smartphones.
yeah,
Well,
we had a lot more fun.
The parents fighting or whatever. I almost got kicked out of Brodak. Yeah, I won't say who it was, but I always was saying stuff to Samantha for the first year. I think it was the second year we were there. And that whole week, it was making her mad and stuff, and she was, getting all upset and everything. And next thing, she was just sobbing, crying, and he'd said something to her that she couldn't fly and this and that, and all kinds of other things. I went up and put my finger in his face. I said, "You ever make her cry again, me and you have problems." "You threatened me?" I said, "No, it's a promise. I'm telling you, you make her cry again, and you're not going to like me anymore." So, yeah, they called Will Davis, let me stay, but he said I couldn't talk to the guy, or we had to stay away from each other, and he wasn't allowed to talk to the two girls. But yeah,
I've never run into anything like that at a control line contest.
no, it was, me and him almost went fisticuffs there at Brodak. I mean, he was that close. But yeah, so that was over, and he don't go there anymore, so I don't have no problems. But yeah, so it does happen, baseball or control line flying, when you get a whole bunch of people together or whatever.
Well, I'll tell you the flip side of it. What was the most fun event at Brodax this year?
049.
half A.
Yeah.
Was it? I was wondering if that's what y'all were going to say.
Yeah, I think it was probably closely followed by the Ringmaster event. And what they had in common were they were the least structured, least stressful. Everybody, I mean, literally everybody was out to help each other and have a good old time.
Well, I think what it really was is that all of us old guys who was getting Alzheimer's could still remember that back. But now,
That's it.
it's like, wow, I remember doing that.
Do you guys remember when they had the half A at the Nats?
Yep.
They used to have it.
I didn't know they ever did.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did.
The first year they actually I have two first. The first year they did intermediate at the Nats by Brodak. I won it. It was in '96. And a few years later they started to fly half A at the Nats. And the first year they did half A at the Nats, I won that one too.
They actually did it I think it was interspersed. One year the Cox company had just introduced their ME-109 with the wraparound foam wings.
I remember that. I wasn't there, but I heard about this.
Yeah, well, they had a whole bunch of them there for people to try and fly and everything like that. It didn't take long. There were basically about 24 stunt flyers ended up with these things, and we had a literal spur of the moment impromptu stunt contest.
test.
Yeah, for reed valve powered foam wing ME-109s that really flew like crazy. I mean, they were really good airplanes. And after that, everybody said, "Gee, this is fun. Let's see if we can formalize this." Okay, and it goes up the hill, comes back down the hill, and well, I think like Trian says, I think it kind of comes and goes, depending on how much patience people have with trying to get their half-A engine to run proper. Stuff like that.
Rusty, what's that airplane you have you're building at half-A?
The Hyper Viper.
Yeah. No, did the ME-109, did it fly as good as the Hyper Viper? Or
I've never seen a Hyper, so I don't know.
I seen a Hyper Viper, and that was the best flying airplane for a half-A I ever seen.
So look at the Hyper Viper. If you've got no context, you can't tell what size it is. It looks like a thoroughbred stunt ship.
Mm-hmm.
And, I have yet to try to fly it, but it looks like it's going to be a good flyer.
I had the Hyper Viper and the Cox ME-109. I had the ME-109 and I flew it again when I was able to fly the full pattern. And I'd just say hands down, the ME-109 was a better flying plane than the Hyper Viper. It's got the hollow wrapped foam wing, whereas the Hyper Viper's the solid foam wing.
Mm-hmm.
Hyper Viper heavier, and it's got a smaller wing. Hyper Viper's wings like probably not 50, be about 30% smaller than the ME-109's wing.
Okay. It's nice to hear from somebody who's flown both.
I was when I flew at the Nats that half-A, I think I had a 505 score on it. And man, that thing flew nice. It was a full body fuselage with a 1/16 balsa sides and 1/64 plywood doublers. The nose construction was basically like any full-size stunt ship.
Was it a TD power?
No, it was a Norvell 049.
Norvell. Okay, even better then. Okay.
Yeah, and I actually built, just for the heck of it, I just built my first I-beam wing on that one. I was just trying to see how easy it is to make, and wasn't a true I-beam wing. It was like a pseudo I-beam wing. So because what I did, I kept the vertical spar and I cut some small notches into it, so the ribs will just slide in between the notches.
That's kind of like how the baby flight streaks put together, I think.
Yeah.
Or maybe the big one too. I've never seen the inside of a big flight streak.
Now, didn't Cox also make a Super Chipmunk?
Yes, they did.
That
yeah,
my brother had one of them, and that damn thing flew really good.
It just had such an anemic engine.
Yeah.
It had a little reed valve engine.
Yeah, it had the basic Cox product engine. I don't think it was even a twin port or anything like that. But it had a nice stunt tank in it and stuff like that. So it was easy to run, easy to fly. So
yeah, if Cox would have came out with stuff that flew that good when I was a kid, oh my God. You had a half a wing basically. I don't even know how the damn things flew. It had an airfoil shape on top, and it was underneath.
Yeah, like the Spitfire, the Stuka, and the PT-19. Oh, they were brutal. PT-19 was probably the best of the bunch.
Yeah, it would fly. I wish I had a nickel for every Stuka they sold, though.
No kidding.
I wish I had a nickel for every Stuka that crashed.
Well, we'd have you and I would have exactly the same number of nickels.
Amount of money, yeah.
Although, what's his name? Dan, the guy from St. Louis, Dan. I can't think of his name right now. He's a regular on the forum. He posted a video of him flying a Stuka just a couple of years ago. Yeah.
Yes.
McInty, yeah.
Yeah, and he posted a couple of them. I forget what the other airplane one was, but the one that got me was the Stuka. Is that there was living proof that it was possible for somebody to get the thing airborne. Yeah, I was amazed.
I had a Stuka that I flew until it just wore out.
Huh.
Yeah, I flew my.
It was my second Stuka because my first plane was also a Stuka, and I did what everybody else does. I slagged it right off on the first flight. My dad was a master of epoxy, so he got it back together 4 or 5 times, and after that he brought home a PT-19 for me to fly, and that's where I actually learned to fly a tank of gas out, and then after that I was off and running.
Yeah, I flew my Stuka for, I don't know, a couple of years, but we found out that you had to get like Cox racing fuel,
Yeah,
high nitro
Yeah.
stuff, and then
exactly.
you could get enough thrust then out of that damn little 049 motor to get that Stuka to fly.
Yeah, I made that same discovery by accident because I bought the red can one day and it was so much different that it was incredible. I knew it right off the bat.
Hey, I got a neat
It was
story.
like, it needs more horsepower. It needs more horsepower and shit. So somehow we talked my mom into going down to the hobby shop and getting the damn Cox racing fuel or whatever it said on. But I think that was like 35%
Yeah.
nitro.
The cans looked a little bit like this battery does.
Yeah, that red on there, yeah.
Boy, there's a blast from the past. I haven't seen a battery like that in 100 years.
Yeah, it's a replica. One of my friends on Cox Engine Forum makes these, and I don't know what kind of batteries are in them. Just alkalines, I guess. And
wired in sync. We used to make our own, solder them together.
Yeah, I forget, when we were kids, the little clip they gave you.
Yeah, the one with the blue and red wires and the yellow clip.
Yeah.
And we always thought that the 2 bottom ones, it went into the fins and then the top clipped on.
It did on some heads, but it didn't on other heads.
Well, we were someplace and we watched them and they just took and pushed it down and clipped it, on top and pushed it in. We're like,
keeps tension.
How much easier is that? But it never dawned on us that you could do that. So we were always making sure, it would go.
Yeah. After a time, Cox made the heads so you had to do it that way.
Yeah.
But the earlier heads allowed you to put the forks underneath the top fin.
Oh, okay.
We're doing that. Yeah, I did the same as you, Steve, and then it dawned on us. I think when the TD heads came in, when they'd filled in the gap, you had to push it on. It wouldn't fit on like it used to. And,
but it was so much easier just to push it down and clip it in. Like, damn.
Yeah, I was a little slow. I always slid it into the fin.
Yeah, we did. We did.
There's nothing wrong with that. I actually think it gets better contact like that.
I was going to say the same thing. That's why we did it, because it got better contact and it stayed on better. Whereas if you just pushed it down, when you let go of it, once it started, it would shake it off.
Yeah.
Hey guys, we talked about the Spectra lines the other time.
Yes.
And someone said that there is a research done already about the Spectra lines, how much the braking strength and stuff like that, and a side-by-side comparison with the steel cables we use right now. Yeah, and I tried to find it and I can't find it anywhere.
All right, I will take that assignment. I will write a note to Phil Cartier and see if he can put me on to where that stuff is. But I remember what Mike was talking about. I've seen some of that data. I thought it was all in Stunthangar. But I don't know. It's possible it got lost somewhere in the archives or something. But I will get a hold of Phil Cartier and see if I can find anything on that. Dick Imhoff, do you know anything about that? You've been flying combat for a long time. Do you know anything about the research data on the Spectra versus steel?
Yeah, Phil had the spec sheets on it and how it was made, but
yeah,
I posted it on Stunthangar once, but I don't know where it ever went.
Yeah. I'll see if I will take the assignment tree and I'll see if I can get something, and I don't know, personal message or something like that. I'll try to get you onto it, and we'll go from there.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. I'm very interested in it because
I'm glad we've got a podium here where we can kind of spread the word about that stuff, because a few hundred people watch these shows and see the reruns, and so hopefully we're helping generate some interest in it. People are going to want to try it.
Naomi
Yeah,
and I ordered a roll of it off Amazon yesterday, the 100-pound test in white.
Yeah, for combat.
Yeah, we're gonna try it. I want to see what it's like.
Did you get the new thinner stuff?
I'm sorry, did it get what?
The new thinner one. There's a new one out.
I don't know if it's new or old. I just know that I wanted to make sure it was 100-pound test and that it was Spectra,
Yeah, and
two kinds.
the white stuff.
and according to Mike, the new thinner stuff that has the equivalent pound test weight is not AMA legal. You got to have the right thickness as well, which is not.
It won't matter
Well,
if you just think it in Canada. You just go by the newer stuff, which would be the one Matt might described as Matt's Curio lines. I've got some the 25% thinner line. So if it's not legal in Canada yet, then start testing with the best one. At least you've got a better reference point.
I just want to give the stuff a try and see what it's like. So I mean, I don't really care how thin or thick it is, really. I just want to see exactly the differences between it and the steel.
I don't know.
If they're the same pound test, I'd definitely go with the thin for sport flying.
Sure. Yeah, for sure.
Hey, Dick, do you have any line right there with you?
Oh, not with me now.
Oh shit. Well, maybe next time I'll have to get him on and have him show you the knot. It's hard for everybody to figure out how to tie it.
We'll go back to the rerun from the previous show, and it's on
Monday night or from Friday night.
Yeah, Friday night he did it with the paracord, so you could see what's going on. But there's also the video, the Mike Stinson video that was posted in the open forum, and he was tying 100-pound line there. And I don't know, there's it's kind of one of those things like learning to swim. You just kind of get some line in your hand and start tying it. And, yeah,
that's what I want to do.
They're tying the knot so it's got a big loop in the end. I tie it directly to the clips. I single loop polymer knot. Been doing it for 5 years and never had one fail yet.
Yeah, the polymer is a good knot too.
That's the knot I used when I was using.
I like that idea. You can just hook the clips up to the airplane like normal. Makes sense to me.
Simple knot, and you can make them exactly the same length easily.
Yeah, the way that Dick does it when he measures it out and puts the bend in the line and ties it, they come out perfect length every single time. There is no.
That's awesome.
It's so simple. That's why I was going to have him show how he did it. It's such a simple way once you understand that knot.
That makes more sense to me than trying to tie all those loops and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially for flying stunt.
So my idea, the what attracted me to them is the couple of things, right? First of all, they stretch less than a steel cable. Second of all, it seems like they are just as strong for the same diameter. Third of all, they are much lighter than the steel cables.
And they don't change.
So it's advantage after advantage after advantage.
Yeah, no
and
friction.
I'm looking at them. So if its product is far superior to whatever we are using now, and also it's appears to be safer because a knot is a knot, right? Versus wrapping all the stuff, and creating.
That's
those,
just amazing.
Those
That's the part that amazes me. No more wrapping, no more sleeves to put in, nothing. It's just so simple.
Yeah, so why not?
For sure.
See why not? But
my uncle swears that this new stuff is he lives in Florida and they go up in the Gulf of Mexico, deep sea fishing and stuff like that. He says no one uses metal line anymore because a fish can cut it abrasive or whatever. So they just don't lose fish like they used to because the line doesn't break. Same coverage, everything.
Yeah. So,
but they kind of run into the same thing as what we did. If you get a kink in your line and then go out there and fish with it, it'll break at that kink.
Every time. If it's going to break, that's where it's going to break.
Yep. And he thought that's what was happening is they're getting, all that line on them big ass reels and something happened. They had a kink in it or something. And, they'd be fishing and bang. But he says it doesn't happen anymore with the Spectra line and stuff.
So it's less likely to lose a plane. Seems to be safer, has lighter. It has all kinds of advantages to it, but I think the rules have to be done smartly and appropriate, because you don't want to force everybody to use. I mean, apparently the existing rules, they say you have to use the 100-pound or whatever,
65-pound.
the 65.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have to use the 65 that has this particular thickness, but why not use a 65 that has a different thickness? 65 is 65, right?
It passes the pull test.
Yeah,
I think.
and if you pass the pull test, you're good to go, right? So,
Yeah.
So
Okay, remember, and everything you're saying is right on target. Just to put it into context, what Mike Lonke was talking about is one of the reasons they got the 100-pound test for combat is that the physical dimensions, the thickness, the manufacturer's specification was the same as the 018 steel line, so there was no perceived advantage.
That's why
So the thin line wasn't going to be legal for combat because it would no matter meet that criteria.
Yep.
All right. But if you were going to do something with a stunt plane or a sport model or something like that, we would tend to look at something like the rating of the line and say, hey, that's a proper margin of safety and I can live with that. And
yes.
there is absolutely no reason not to use the thinner version of the same rated line.
Yeah.
Gerald,
we have to worry about cut lines.
I think Gerald said that he had actually flown the Max Quattro stuff. Is that true? Did I hear that right?
Yep.
And what was your feeling on it?
Well, I tested a whole lot of different line, and the Max Quattro was definitely thinner and better than the standard 100-pound line. But we just came to the same point that I think they've got to in America, where you can't get some of the older modelers to come around and even give it a try. They're very resistant to change. So we're going to try again at our next AGM at Christmas and see if we can put together a remit that's just a little bit more gradual, less change, more gradually, and see if we can basically get people sport flying with it more, just to get them used to it before we introduce it into contests. But it's a very slow process getting people just to come around to trying something different.
Yeah, it's the darndest thing. It looks like we have an opportunity to make everything better by every measure. And we're resistant to doing it. I mean, it even costs less. And on top of everything else, it costs less. It's
How long? Hey, Dick, what, you been flying 2 months on that Quattro line right now? The thin stuff?
Oh, yeah. At least
2 months. 5 gallons. Well, you said you've already burned up 5 gallons of fuel?
This year so far, 5 gallons.
Yeah, flying on them new lines. But,
They get stepped on. They get hooked by other planes landing. You can't hurt the damn things.
That's marvelous.
Yeah, so see, if it was a steel wire, you probably just lose a plane by now, or we just hit somebody in the head with it.
Yeah,
because
your line steel, your tail wheel catches it and wrecks the lines.
Yeah.
First time.
well, Dick started changing over to metal yesterday to get ready for the Nats, because you got to retrim your airplane.
Trim the motor. You got to move the lead outs and change the tip weight slightly, because the lines are so light.
Exactly.
They are a little more draggy than steel.
Okay, Dick, did I hear you right? You actually changed the lead out position too?
Yep. With steel lines, I got to move the lead outs.
Which way?
Forward.
Forward for steel and aft for the lightweight.
Is that because of the arc from the drag is different?
It has more drag. Not that much. 1/8 of an inch is all it amounts to.
Yeah. And how much tip weight did you add for steel?
1/8 of an ounce.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had taken out a 1/2 ounce on the one airplane, and I wanted to take another 1/4. And then flying it, I had it on my All-American, which of course is the strangest airplane in the world, with that 3.5-inch longer wing. The inboard wing is already heavier. I added a 1/4 ounce of inboard tip weight on it.
Dick had to do that to one of his airplanes too.
Yeah. And I think I'd like to add it. I'd like to try another 1/4 ounce on that one too. If I could keep flying it with Spectra.
What airplane? was it your vector you had to add inboard tip weight?
Yeah, I had to put damn near half an ounce on the inboard tip.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If Dennis, on your lines, have you stretched them?
I did not.
Because if you pull them to about 100 pounds or whatever you can stand, and pull them for 30, 45 seconds, you'll notice a difference in the way the airplane feels.
Okay.
The
Sets
lines
the
are
muscular structure, and the stretch goes away.
yeah.
They're a lot stiffer.
Yeah.
This is after you stretch them?
Yeah,
Okay.
pull test them. When I make a set of lines, I'm using 65-pound test.
Yeah.
I got the pull, and I pull test them to over 100 pounds
Wow.
and hold them
Okay.
for about a minute. And you'll
Right.
see a difference in the way the lines lay on the ground. The
Because
line,
now the stretch is gone.
it just sort of sets the molecular, structure in the line when you pull it.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so you pull it. Sounds like you pull it as close to the rating as you can, and the key thing is you hold it for a minute, give or take.
Yeah, 2 lines, 65-pound, and a pair of lines, and I'll pull them to 100 to 120 pounds, at least
Mhm.
half of the rated strength of the line.
Mhm.
And hold it. That's the key. Is hold it for 30, 45 seconds.
And you feel your pull connectors will pop when you do it because it's so much stronger than a lot of the connectors out there.
Heavy double brake connectors. In all the years I've used them, I've had one knot come loose, and I still have no idea why that had.
Yeah, I know why it worked.
Went on my ass when the line let go because I'm leaning on it.
You know what it was, Dick, when that came loose, that was the other knot. That's that other fishing knot that these guys are tying with a loop, remember?
Because since I went to the polymer,
Yeah.
never had one knot come loose, line break, nothing.
Yeah, we had that one line come loose, but that was that funky you wrap around and come back through and pull and stuff like that. And that one let loose for some reason. But yeah, these new knots. That was 4 years ago that knot came loose, so we haven't.
I've got lines I've been using for 5 years, and as good as
Are you just using a standard knot, Richard, or are you using the knot like Mike Lawn showing us?
No. I tie right straight to the clips with what's called a polymer knot.
Yeah, Palomar is the first one I learned when I started looking. Oh, here comes Sparky. Let him in.
When you buy the Power Pro, there's a booklet in there, and it shows you the knot.
Okay.
And by the way, yeah, go on YouTube. Go on YouTube and do a little bit of searching, and you can find dozens of different videos on how to tie different knots.
Yeah.
And most of them are obviously fishing related and stuff like that, but it's still, good tutorials on how to tie a decent knot in a braided line. So,
okay.
Well, on that book, it gives you with a different knot than what the pull strength is on that knot.
Right.
That polymer knot is the highest rating for a knot.
What's it called again? The polymer knot?
Palomar.
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 Yes,
Okay.
Palomar. It's in the little booklet that comes with the line.
All right.
In the booklet, it'll tell you that if you have a 100-pound test and you tie this knot, what now your test strength?
What the knot strength is.
I got you.
okay, and then back to something else Dick was saying with the polymer knot and everything tied directly to the clip. That's good.
Yep.
You're going to also use a cable handle, okay?
Yep.
And what I found is I was actually that if you tie the open loop one, you can go back to using your hard point handle and switching clips and everything like that. If you want to stay with your hard point and stuff. So, although I'd like to do what Trian was talking about the other night, I'd like to put some kind of replace the steel cable with a synthetic line, and something that would, I think, be a lot more resistant to failure than what steel cable is. So,
well, the other
parachute cord.
The other thing, Dennis, if you want to tie to the clips, what we did with Samantha's plane was just at the handle, we adjusted. It was a clip on a clip.
Mm-hmm.
So the lines are perfectly straight, and then we just hooked it to the clip that's tied on instead of to a eyelet,
Mm-hmm.
and it works fine that way. And you can then use a hard point handle.
Now, technically, you can't do that. And within the AMA rulebook, it says you can't use more than 2 clips on a line.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, you can. And nobody's figured out, or I haven't seen anybody who's figured out a decent like ring or something you can tie on or something. I was even looking up welded steel rings. I couldn't find anything.
You've got the stage, Trey.
So this is a handle I'm working on right now.
Very good.
This is Kevlar rope.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, most of the European combat guys, that's what they use. They use parachute cord on the handle.
This is not parachute cord. This is actually
Well,
Kevlar
similar,
cord. Yeah, this is stronger. This is actually rated like 300 pounds or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And it doesn't break. Even if you put epoxy in it or something like that, as it moves out, the epoxy breaks in the inside, and this still moves. After that, it's free of epoxy basically. If you do a mistake like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is actually the technique I'm using on my hinges in my elevator and wings. I put a strip of Kevlar in there, and after I'm done with the wing, I just use a hacksaw to clear up the epoxy that's on the top of the Kevlar. And as I start to move it up and down, the epoxy inside the Kevlar strip starts to break down and gets looser and looser and looser and looser in time, and it just gets perfect and no drag. But anyways, this is Kevlar rope. It's a 300-pound test.
How do you plan on anchoring it so it doesn't slide, or it looks like you're just adjusting it through a slip-on hole there? Is that are you going to put an anchor on that
It's
too?
not finished yet. It's going to have a screw and nut through this with a plate on the other side.
Okay.
So the plate is just going to clip on it. But this is dragging enough so that, even in flight, I could probably loosen it up a little bit and just can adjust it a little bit, do just a level flying, to just get my neutral nice, and then lock it in and I'm done. And actually, I have something else I'm going to show you, but I'll be right back.
What are you going to do for the loop? How are you going to attach the loop to the Kevlar there?
Well, I guess you can just do a knot, a regular knot, and then just put the loop at its end, very similar to the other knot that you're using, or you can just go like this and just wrap it around and turn the other end over, wrap it around again like you do your lead outs and stuff like that. So your regular lines, and I just put some heat shrink on top of it, and that should be just as good as any. And if you do that, you're gonna have like a little loop like this, so it's easy to get your clips in and out. But the main reason for which I want to use this actually are 2 reasons, right? Number one, it's flexible and doesn't break like the steel wire likes to do, right? And another thing is, like, when I roll my lines, I roll them from the plane this way, right? So as this ends kind of go like that around the reel, it's easy to put a clip on them, right? And if you use the hard points with the cables, what they do when you get to the end of the line, you kind of bend these ends, right? Because of the just nature of the beast, the way those hard points work. But I don't care with this. This is fine. So yeah, I've seen it on a I think at the Yashenko Shark. They have some handles over there for the plane, and they all use this kind of a some kind of a parachute cord kind of thing.
I've seen that.
Yeah, most of the European combat guys, that's what they use. They don't use wire handles, the type we use here, where they got just a clip on the end. They slide a piece of tubing over it.
Almost like all our stuff's old technology.
Yeah.
It's time to move on. I mean, it's like that's why I was thinking. That's why I was asking Dennis about the data. Because maybe if you show somebody the data, hey, genius, look at this. It's stronger. It's safer. It stretches less. It's cheaper. What
Less
the heck
friction.
more do you want? And these are the facts. Yes, sometimes, yeah, people are resistant to change, but sometimes when you put them the facts in front of them, they might say, hey, maybe something good in here. I mean, I don't get it. This is one thing I don't get it. When somebody comes with something better, well, I've always done it like this.
Well, you know what's interesting? If you could get guys like Paul Walker and Dave Fitzgerald using it, they'd all be using it in a week.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's that simple.
I'll bet you at the
that's
Nats, if you
that's
walk down the line at the Nats with a micrometer, I'll throw half of those guys out because their lines are too small.
Really, eh?
Because most of those lines will measure 14. They won't measure 14 and a half or 15, 14, because they're metric. Nobody makes American lines anymore.
That's an interesting point. I hadn't realized that, but I bet.
I've flown combat and stunt. I've never had anybody take a micrometer to my lines on a stunt plane. But combat, yes, sir, every time.
You're allowed 1,500 tolerance.
1,500. Read the book.
Well, I've had a mic before.
Because these 14 and a halves that right here that you got are 1,000s. If they were 14, they're not legal.
So I guess that's why I have a pair of those. I have a set of those, and I want to use them. I'm gonna make a brand new set just before I go to the Nats. Well,
Even these are hard to measure, and that was one of the bitches that they had about the Spectre lines. They couldn't measure them. Who gives a shit what size they are as long as they pass the pull test?
At the World Championships, that's all they cared. You could have flown, 10,000 lines if it would pass the pull test they gave. They said, okay, you got to pass, your airplane weighs this, you got to pass this. And you went up there and you pulled it.
And that's FAI, right?
Yep. And why we can't do that, because it's FAI, we can't do that in the United States.
This is another thing that I don't understand. The whole world is using the FAI rules. In the United States, we use AMA freaking rules.
Yep.
I mean, it's like the whole world is different, and we have to be.
Thank God for that.
Whatever.
Yeah, it's something like that, making stunt great again, or something like that.
We need to go back to ignition motors and all that kind of stuff.
There you go.
You're on your own there, pal. So.
Yeah, I'm not going to go on about this one.
Yeah, you are definitely on your own.
They need to get rid of. They need to go to the FAI pattern in scoring, how they do it. So when we send people over to the World Championships, they're used to it, the judging and all that kind of stuff. And for that, they need to get rid of BOM.
No, this is the aeromodeling championships. It's not a flying event. It's an overall aeromodeling champion. Otherwise, the Yatsenkos would build every airplane.
No, because at the World Championships, not every airplane was built by Yushenko.
Nope.
Most of all the people there who flew their own designs. They built their own airplane. There was a few of them that had Yushenkos, but very few.
You're not going to see BOM go away.
Steve, just a swag. How many Yushenkos do you think were there? Was it a third or a quarter or 10%, or what do you think?
Maybe 10, maybe 5%.
Okay.
Just
curious about that.
All the top guys want to have their own design, their own builds, because you get points if you got the best line model or whatever. I mean, it's just prestigious, you know,
Mhm.
that they're not going to go there and fly somebody else's who built their airplane.
Mhm.
And, you know, that's the way it was. And, you know, a lot of them guys with like the Yashenko, they actually built them. You can get parts, you know, and you get plans and stuff like that. And they like the model, but yet they did it, painted it themselves and
Mhm.
stuff like that, you know. But they like the design, they like how it fits in the box and all this.
Yeah, I think the thing I think if you're going to be really serious about it, one thing you really want to have is repeatability and the ability to duplicate, backup airplanes, repair parts and stuff like that. And to me, that all sounds like some kind of a molded technology is going to have big advantages over balsa styrofoam
Right.
stuff.
Mhm.
And if you get a good design, you can at least in theory you can put them out like potato chips.
I have potato chips.
A Yashenko built airplane has never won the world championships.
Not yet.
Yashenko designed airplane has, but not built.
Mm-hmm.
How come?
Because the top-notch flyers build their own planes.
Mm-hmm.
They
Okay.
want to know how they're built. They don't want anything fail. You know, they want to put the bell crank in. They want to make sure
Mhm.
all the stuff is done right.
Yeah.
And they know mass produce. Next thing you know, your bell crank comes flying out. What do you do after you spend all that kind of money going to world championships? And
Even at my low level, I like to know that I put it together. You know.
Mm-hmm.
exactly. And that's
Well, with BOM, you know they have to put it together, except there's a lot of cheating going on in the BOM too.
That's why what I say is that you should have the judging of the airplanes for if you want to do if you want to build your airplane, you go there and you get.
Oh, it ain't that. If you want to fly FAI, it's called FAI or the team trial.
Now here's what it is. You build your own airplane. You go in there and you can get a 20-point score or a 50-point. And they give you whatever you want for that. That's one category. The next category is flying, and you scored for that.
They already have it. FAI. We got two contests. FAI.
So now you add your pretty points and your flying ability. That wins you the Walker Cup.
Mm-hmm.
The Walker Cup is the best modeler. You can have a builder's trophy, a flyer's trophy, and an all-around trophy. And that would solve the whole problem right there.
There is no problem. I don't understand what the problem is.
Because it's a flying contest.
Exactly. It's not. FAI is a flying contest.
Well,
I'm going to the Nats a builders contest. It's I'm going flying. I'm going to the Nats. It's a flying contest.
What does Pampa mean? What's the abbreviation mean?
It means take your money and give you nothing.
Does it say anything about builder in Pampa? It says precision aerobatic pilot.
Keep thinking that, but it ain't not. BOM is not going to go away.
Oh yeah, it'll be gone one day.
It'll be gone sooner or later.
Yep.
We're all dead.
When the old people, but when the young people come back in or keep coming up.
When we're gone, this is gone.
I don't know.
And apparently you want to keep it that way.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, when the rule change comes up, I'm gonna put in for a rule change on that to where you have a builder's trophy, you have a flyer's trophy, and you have an all-around trophy.
You want to take a bet on how far it goes?
We'll see. But my thing is
cycle for the last 20 years. It's not going anywhere.
My thing is I'm going to talk to an AMA lawyer and ask them why they promote the use of dangerous chemicals in this sport. Because the only way you can win on a builder's thing is to use chemicals. to paint your airplane very unsafe. So if anybody gets cancer from building model airplanes and doing that, AMA would be liable.
I don't think so.
And they're promoting children to use volatile chemicals.
Oh,
Steve-
yeah.
Steve, you should have been a lawyer.
What do you think he is?
Or a lobbyist.
Yeah, there you go.
But it's the truth. I mean, Samantha had to paint her own airplanes. I had cancer. Only 10 people in the United States had the same kind of cancer I did, and we all worked at a chemical company. You really believe that's a coincidence? Can anyone here say they believe the 10 people in the United States that all worked at chemical factory that got a certain kind of chemical in their system that caused it? That was a coincidence, or it was a
Company, don't eat the paint.
Well, I don't know. I think I'm going to jump all around here. Sparky, you said something about you suspected people were cheating on BOM and stuff like that. And I think Steve's really got a good point about, if you will, death paint. I'm starting to take the opinion. I've always been a solid BOM guy and everything like that, but anymore, I'm really getting disillusioned with it because we live in since the 1980s when somebody offered me said, "Hey, bring your airplane to New Jersey. I'll shoot it with a coat of Imran, and you'll instantly have an 18-point airplane." And he was right. Imran was that good. Oh, by the way, if you paint Imran without a spacesuit, you die.
Yeah.
All right. So where does the BOM go? I could build my airplane. I could do all the finish, even a preliminary coat of clear or something like that. Take it to my buddy, the professional painter, to shoot a coat of clear on it. That is the difference in the world. My guess, what I'm trying to circle around to, is the idea that since the advent of paints like Imran and some of the automotive finishes we have now and stuff like that, finish points, that is shiny points, are obsolete. It's not the same, they're obsolete.
Base, there's all kinds of other finishes that will work.
Right. Well, let me finish. What I was going to go from is that somewhere along the line, we used to have 4 categories for appearance, and 2 of the ones that were left were workmanship and finish, and somehow those have just morphed into shine. Okay. Well, why don't we take a look at how we award these things and say, hey, workmanship still bubbles to the top. You can still see excellence in building, whether it's painted or monocoated or anything like that, but basically completely de-emphasize anything that has to do with shiny paint, because shiny paint comes from a can.
The perfect example of that is Ron Burns. You guys screwed.
Well, Ron Byrne is it's a darn good example, and he didn't get points because it didn't shine. And for anybody who doesn't know that, he built an F4F Wildcat, and he did it in a Dave Platt style weathered finish, all flats, and the thing looked like it had been sitting out in a salty ocean for 6 months, and so the paint was faded and streaked and everything like that.
Awesome.
Yeah. By what any measure, it was an absolute work of art, and he got something like 4 points for appearance.
What?
Because it didn't shine. Yeah.
That's insane.
Well, that's it. The
Bullshit.
people awarding appearance points had their heads in the wrong place. I'll let us put it that way. But it's like, hey, shine is easy. It's not the same as 50 years ago. Somebody brought an airplane to finish, and basically everybody was using dope. They might have used butyrate, they might have used aerogloss or something like that. But to build up a shine and a decent finish using dope, you really got to work the heck out of it, and you got to be meticulous and careful and build up lots of layers and sand and polish and don't break the paper and everything like that. And now, I don't know, Bob Hunt told me this, and I believed him. He was one of the first guys to use Imran. He says, I could spray a coat of Imran on a piece of 240 sandpaper and get 16 points,
Oh, yeah. I used to use it. I tell you what, once you get cancer and they give you a 10% chance to live 7 years, it will change your mind on breathing these chemicals when they say don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's not going to affect. I mean, we had 200 guys that worked there at the shop, and 4 of us all ended up with the same kind of cancer. It didn't affect all 200 of them. It was just a percentage, and you don't know if it's you or the other guy it's going to affect. You know, my dad worked there for 30 years, and he never got that kind of cancer. He got a different kind, but he didn't get that kind that I had. But still, there was 10 of us in the United States, and we all worked in a chemical company making paint. And it's not coincidence. There would have been one person who got it who never worked in a chemical factory.
Yeah. And the other thing is that the other reason why I think we need to not award the shine in the finish is because right now you can't tell by looking at the finish how the finish was developed. You can't tell if it's a traditional dope finish or if it's an automotive finish or an Imron finish or whatever else. So there's no way to tell or test for it or anything like that. So you can't say, well, gee, that's a great dope finish. You get points. That's a great Imron, but you don't get any points. Well, take all the finish out and go back to the workmanship. Go back to the excellence of execution. Go back to getting credit for what you do, and no credit for what you don't do.
Well, if they want to have a builder of the model, that's fine. You got to build your own model. Period. You build it, you can fly it. Okay. Next, you know, without points on what other people think it should look like or what kind of product, like you said, you use to make it shine or anything else. If you want someone to build a model, okay, that's the rules. You have to build your own airplane.
My beef with the builder of the model is not the builder of the model rule itself. My beef with the builder of the model rule is that it doesn't promote any new blood to come into the sport. And look at ourselves. Like, I mean, you have to be pretty much crazy to spend a year building a model and fly it the way we fly it, and then risk into crashing it, right? And there's no. I mean, what is the average age in Pampa right now? 70 plus. I mean, come on. Are you kidding me? You know, Sparky is right when he say when we die, this is all gonna be gone. Why? Because kids,
no new blood.
Kids have no interest into it. They might have interest. It's exciting. You have a feel for it. You fly. You touch the plane. You are in contact with it. It's exciting. It's cool. And I had a bunch of guys from when I was at Joe and all that. They came from the RC side of the 3D field. They came and watched me because they said that's cool, and they liked it. They wanted something different, and so there is a possibility to get them in. But when you tell them like, no, you have to build your own model, and they're gonna give you points for that. Then if you don't you know, they all look at you like they all look at you like you gotta be shitting me. So I'm out of here. See you. Bye bye. Whatever, you know.
You have to build the model, and you gave it to them, and you instructed them how to do it. They still wouldn't do it. They're not interested.
But
I'll have to disagree with you, Sparky. I have a daughter that still flies.
We'll see in a couple of years.
A couple of years, we'll see if you're still flying.
I'm still alive.
Yeah, well, there you go. You don't know.
You're afraid of getting beat by some 20-year-old kid with an ARF SV11.
Right. That's what,
boy, she's going to go a different direction.
I'll tell you what.
Knock you out of the top 20.
Yeah, great.
Over here, they would have shit if the Chinese kid would have came over with his airplane, and a 13-year-old would have beat. It would have made the top 10.
That happen all the time. Didn't you do it, Dennis? Dennis, didn't you do it? You won the Walker Cup.
Yeah.
Used to happen all the time.
Once.
No, it didn't used to happen all the time. I think there's only 2 juniors that are seniors that ever won the Walker Cup.
A few more than that.
Huh?
It's been a few more than that. The first three times it was awarded, it was won by a junior.
Oh, okay. But then there was a lot of years, you know, between, and the deal is one reason is that the people all flew the same airplane. I mean, you had a Nobler with a Fox 35 in it. Everybody was on the same playing field. I mean, there wasn't $500 motors for a kid to fly, or you know, $3,000, you know, $2,000 airplanes and stuff like that.
Yeah, the I don't know. There's so many things. I go to a place like the Brodak Fly-In, and really you need to hang around at like the beginner or the intermediate circles as much as anything else. And what you see there is, you know, if you got certainly older people and you got some younger people, and a younger guy might be somebody who is, you know, he's got a Brodak ARF or something like that that looks like it hasn't been cleaned off since the last Brodak Fly-In, because that's probably the last time he was able to get out and fly. You know, he's working a 60 or 80 hour a week job, raising a family, and likes to fly models, but you know, he flies it when he can and stuff like that. But yet here he is at the Brodak Fly-In, having a good time for the week and everything like that, flying an ARF. Would we be better off if he wasn't there? You know, and I think the answer is no, and that's why I'm thinking that we got to find a way to, you know, we got to make it. I hate to say it, but you know, making it easier is probably part of it, and you know, that's another reason why I think things like, well, gee, you shouldn't run, only real modelers use IC engines and stuff. Well, it takes a lot of talent to make an IC engine run. Well, yes, it does. And that's also a barrier to why a lot of people don't ever progress as stunt flyers, because they spend all of their time trying to figure out how to make the damn engine run.
Right.
Maybe they got somebody nearby that helps them fly and, you know, gets them over the hump. And that's a good thing. And, you know, maybe they'll learn and everything like that. That's certainly nothing wrong with that. But in the meantime, it's like how many hours, how many, you know, months, even years did you go through before, you know, trying to figure out how to get a consistent engine run?
Yep.
But you can go to your local hobby shop and you can buy a power system that will be as good as anything that you see at the World Championships.
Yep.
That's not bad. You know, that's a good thing. So
Dennis, I was talking to Randy Smith, and he said with the SV11 kits or something like that, and the Vector and those kits, he said he sold hundreds of them.
Mhm.
And then you think about, where are those hundreds of kits? Somebody buys them, somebody flies them, you know, and probably if they would say, hey, come on in and fly, we don't give a rat's ass because of, you know, the BOM or whatever. And a lot of contests are like that. And I see people coming in with ARFs and stuff like that and having a good time.
Art Schaefer owns Schaefer's hobby shop, and he has people come in who buys these park flyers. They have no modeling experience, just like flying an ARF. They put it together, take it out, fly it one time, break it. They're done. They're not interested after that because they broke their model. That's what's happened to those models.
But
but the SV11 kits are not going to people who are opening the box and taking them out and breaking them. No. I think Randy is truly selling kits, not, you know, I'm sorry, Steve, I keep walking over you. I know Randy sells some of the Brodak stuff, but Randy mostly sells his own kits, which are full build kits, right? So
there's nothing more disheartening for a kid, I know, to spend months building an airplane and then crashing it.
Mm-hmm.
It was so much better when I buy 3 ARFs at a time. One crashes, transfer shit over, fly the next one. That one crashes, transfer shit over, fly the next one. It kept her wanting to fly. If the plane would have crashed and she would have had to build another airplane, her flying would have been done. It'd have been over.
Yeah.
It's simple.
Yeah, it's different. I think that part of the problem is it's very different for new people coming into the hobby than people who are seasoned, like most of us on here. We know what it's like to build and what the value of building your own airplane and so forth. Somebody new into it has to have a little bit of how shall I say, early gratification. If there's no gratification in it, they're never going to do it for any length of time.
We get gratification
We'll
from
do it. us guys here on this panel, we're all going to fly next year and the year after and the year after, no matter whether we crash or not crash. We're still going to do it.
Yeah,
But
we
for
all
new-
learn self-gratification at about 13 years of age.
Yep. The big problem is that our average age right now is over 60. I'm not being conservative.
Yeah.
And that's what we need to change.
And it keeps going higher and higher and higher.
Exactly.
And we have nobody that's going to replace us. Why? Because they have no incentive to do. Kids,
There's no
you know,
interest. They're not. It's not on a computer. There's no interest.
No, that's true. There's a certain amount of work involved in doing this.
That's right.
Unfortunately.
The other day, they have a new computer game for simulated auto mechanic. Solve problems on, I guess you need it on these new cars, but you got to get them doing the real thing. Everything's in a smartphone.
Yeah, there's no interest in this. It's, you know, back when we were younger, flight was new and it was exciting. Now it's mundane. They don't go to watch the space shuttle launch. They don't go. I mean, it used to be an all-day event.
You get outdoors, you talk to people. It's a whole thing. You know, it's on a phone. That's all you got right there.
they don't even live in our world.
Yeah.
Well, you know, that's only true in the United States for some reason. Because
I think it's the same here.
when you hear about how many Russian kids had to fly, you know, flew to try to get on the team.
I don't live in Russia.
How many kids, 50 kids flew off for the damn chance to fly in the World Championships in China.
Wow.
Yeah. Romania, I forget, even Romania, there was 3 or 4. I mean, we had 1. Samantha's the only one that showed up.
Well, Samantha's the only one that showed up in about the last 4 team trials, I think.
Yeah. So
we had several years with nobody.
What's the difference between all these other countries in Europe and across the world and the United States?
Privilege.
BOM.
They're entitled, privileged brats.
BOM.
Yeah. Yes.
That's the difference. They're all in the FAI. Promoted.
In your submission, I wish you luck.
If you want to have pretty airplanes, have a concourse event.
Right, that's what I said.
Sure.
You have a concourse event, you have a flying event, you total the 2 together, the Walker Cup winner.
This has been tried every year for the last 20 years.
Have to do with the flying score. What does a pretty airplane have to do with the flying ability? None.
There's only 10 points difference between highest and lowest, max.
Right.
And that stupid FAI scoring system, that's stupid.
You don't understand it, that's why.
Huh?
You don't understand it, that's why.
Have you flown on team trials? I have.
No interest in team trials.
Yeah, but when did you ever fly under their scoring system?
At the team trials.
No. We use our scoring system with the FAI pattern. We don't.
They do not. They do not. Steve, they use. I've been.
You're a winner.
They use the K factor.
They use K. I've been a judge at the team trials a couple of times here. We use the FAI score.
And you're a winner.
Yeah.
So practice 4 8s in an hourglass. That's all you need to know how to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are the people who usually end up 4th and 5th alternate, or the guys that use good hourglasses and clover or square 8s. The only way, you know, ask Brett or what? Yeah, Brett Buck. Ask him about missing a team position by a quarter of a point as a total of 2 flights across 4 or 5 judges per flight, and he lost a team position by a quarter of a point. A quarter of a point awarded, you know, down with K factors and everything like that, you know, it's an exceedingly small margin. Either system rewards a total performance for the pattern. You know, people say, well, you only have to do 2 good maneuvers. Well, hey, you do. I'll spot you perfect scores on the 2 good maneuvers, and I'll beat your ass because I'll fly the whole pattern. All right.
Well,
how's that? I mean, seriously.
It's with Samantha when she was first flying in beginner and moving up. I told her, all you have to do is to be able to do an hourglass, do overhead 8s, whatever. And you're going to get at least 10 points. We'll practice straight and level. If you ever see her fly straight and level, inverted or whatever, she's always close to 40 points on these things. Takeoff and landing, almost 40 points. She wins not because from her hourglass or whatever. I tell her, get the gimme point.
Yeah.
You get
easy points.
because a 40 on a takeoff is as good as 40 on an hourglass.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a lot easier maneuver to get a 40. Everybody should be getting 40 points on takeoff and landings. It's the easiest deal there is to do. But they all shoot for the hourglass. They shoot for the squares. I want a 40 on this. I'm like, get a 35 on that and get a 40 on your landing because everyone else is only getting 30 on landings. You're up 5 points on them. And it's a way to play the point game on how to win. And the AMA, you know. And one reason why she won so many things, even flying against Mike Paris and stuff, is because she got her gimme points. She wins the contest by 4 points, and the landing she beat him by 10 points. I mean, there you go. It was just the landing. It didn't matter about the other things. You can play with the point deal on that, on where to get the easy points. It's kind of like college. The teacher always said, "No," he goes, "if you get all your gimme stuff in this class, you do your homework, you do your assignments in class, this kind of stuff, it's worth 70 or 80% of your grade. Then your tests, if you get A's on all the gimme stuff," he goes, "I guarantee you'll get at least a B+ in this class. If you pass, the final or whatever, the final ain't worth that much." And you can, that's like, I made the Dean's List so many times just by playing the game of points. When I was the smartest kid in class, I knew where to get the points and where not to worry about points. Because I only needed 92 points to get an A. Make it on the Dean's List, I get another free 6 months of college. I never paid nothing for college. You gotta play the game. You gotta figure out. And it's the same thing with flying. Get a 40 on a landing. I mean, there at the last dance Samantha was at, she got 39 on landing. I mean, she probably only got 29 points on the hourglass. But that was about average. But her landing was way above average.
I want to show you something. We were talking about the handles. This is my first try that I made. And I have like a set screw over here. And this is adjustable. See that?
All right.
And all I have to do, I can even do it in flight. I can have this with me and just access it and loosen up and tighten up. And this is actually my tool that I have with me all the time to take the nose off.
And bearings on the outside of that handle?
What?
When the line comes out, or them bearings?
When the line exits, do you put any special protection or anything like that at the end where the line exits the handle?
Yeah, it actually has a little bit of a lead out. You see that?
Oh, it's a rounded deal. I thought that was a bearing at first.
It's rounded, but this Kevlar doesn't break.
Right.
Kevlar doesn't break. It will never break.
See?
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm wondering why on a CAS, like a CAS design handle, how this is adjustable, why you couldn't do that with Kevlar line?
I don't need it.
Yeah, I know you don't need it, but a lot of people do.
I can make it like that. All I have to do is just make some kind of a this plate can move up and down and with a wider blade.
That's what I was thinking.
Big deal.
Yeah, on your airplane, you don't need to do it. You can set your handle spacing where you want. But I mean, if you need a little more up or down or whatever on most airplanes, like you can see this one, it has it has more down. I don't forget what airplane it was, but we had to add more down than up.
Yeah.
You can't get in there and adjust anything once the airplane's made.
Yeah.
But I was thinking on something like that, but with the Kevlar line instead of the wires that you got to change out every.
Absolutely, you can probably you can replace your cable with some kind of a Kevlar line, and
I don't think this part. Well, you'd have to machine off some of this here and make the adjuster a little bigger so you could drill a bigger hole in it, because that's a lot smaller than diameter wise than what yours is.
So big deal, drill a bigger hole.
Well, it's just about drilled out as it is, so you'd have to widen this part out somehow.
What is the diameter of that? Because this line here, it's 78 thousandths in diameter.
1/8 inch.
It's 2.5 millimeters, what I have here. 1/8 inch is more than enough for this to run this through.
Yes, that'll got an 1/8 inch hole in it.
Yeah, you can get this 300-pound Kevlar thread, which is about 0.78, and it's going to go through a 1/8 inch, just no problems.
Oh, okay. And what would be the pound pull on that? Be
300.
Oh, 300?
Yeah, I think it's enough.
Hope so.
I was wondering about that. Does your handle, the pull on the handle, have to be more than your lines? By rules.
No, the rules is just.
I just wondered if there was a rule that says that the handle has to pull 200 pounds or something like that.
Oh no, there's nothing like that. I think where it comes into I think the handle cables traditionally take a bigger beating than the lines do. The lines you can throw away or change out and stuff, but you tend to use their handles longer and stuff. So using a heavier gauge in the handle where it really doesn't hurt anything just adds to durability. But otherwise, I suppose you could use 100-pound test if you wanted there, and and justify it. So
yes.
What I was wondering is that if you made a set of lines that just came out, went through the handle and back to your airplane, it was 15 thousandths, would that be legal?
Oh, absolutely.
If it passes the pull test, I think it should be legal.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to pick on Pat's place. He had a Goldberg handle in his hand there. Can you pull that picture up?
This is all I got left.
Yeah, there we go. But that handle there, the Goldberg half A handle, was designed with a continuous line that goes through the center and stuff like that. Now, if you're really cool, if you do that with say, a Spectra or something like that, now you only have 2 ends to tie, not 4. And it doesn't matter how you tie them because you can equal them out. You can bring them down to dead even just by adjusting it through the center,
Well, that's what I was thinking about this. If I just ran Spectra lines through this handle, in and out, if it would be legal. That's why I was wondering if there's anything in the rules that says this lead out on your, lead out for your off from your bell crank or lead out off of the handle has to be a different diameter than.
There's nothing in there, nothing in the rule about that.
Our Spectra line,
they're always bigger than the flying line anyway.
our Spectra legal.
There are at our club. Huh?
I used them at Brodak.
Yeah, we use them at Brodak. They're legal at our club and our flying field.
At the Nats, are they legal at the Nats?
No, because old people still run shit.
Yeah.
Hey, wait a minute.
Because
I
know that it's a flying building contest that doesn't have any upgraded technology.
Yeah.
This is what we had in '67. My dad used this for his flight streak.
Yep.
Easy just.
Yep, the big easy just. There's a lot of people still use those actually.
Still got a few of them.
What's the difference between that and a hot rock?
If it was an old upgrading event, you guys wouldn't be flying electrics. So I don't hear no whining.
Steve was talking about these earlier. That there's 2 different styles. One's narrower.
Oh, I'll be darned. I never realized that.
That's the one that won't fit underneath the top tab.
One's got the ramped tabs. That gives you more pressure for good contact.
Yeah.
Because it never really touched both sides when you went
I
between.
thought it was the head they changed, but it was the clip they changed.
Okay.
I line them up, you can see it.
Hey, Sparky, the reason why electric is legal in the AMA
So you got time.
there was nobody smart enough to think that anything else would come along besides a internal combustion engine. If they would have thought that, they would have made that illegal too, just like the metal lines.
Well, actually, I'm all set. I'm going to take a brush motor to the Vintage Stunt Championships, and I'm going to fly it in spark ignition. Because my brush motor, my old it has motor brushes in it and everything like that. They spark whenever the motor runs. So why isn't my Sparky any less legal than your Sparky?
You could go to Kmart and get a perfect wedge tank for 50 cents at Kmart.
Kmart, yeah. Most of my Cox models came from Kmart.
98 cents for that handle.
Are you guys going to that?
Doesn't look like it looks like if I make it at all, I might make it for Tuesday for Classic Day, and that's about it.
Oh shit.
Steve, you going?
Yeah, we're going Wednesday night.
She entered in junior or senior, I mean?
You can't enter till you get there.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't understand that. And when I was running that the 2 years, there were issues, but we were able to get juniors and seniors entered. So I don't understand why in the world they're giving you grief on that.
She's not going to fly advanced?
No, she can't get the time off. She can only get 2 days off. So we're going down Wednesday night, and then we'll be there Thursday and Friday to practice, talk to people. She'll fly Saturday morning, then we'll head home, and then she has to go to work by 6:30 Saturday night.
Oh my!
Who do you think is going to be in senior this year?
Her and Mills, I think.
Yeah, Mills.
Yeah, that's pretty easy. Yeah.
I'm gonna go fly advanced this year.
But yeah, she wanted to fly advanced, but she's a lead where she worked. They give her a raise, and now she has to be there to open and close and all this stuff. And so she has more responsibilities. She gets paid more for it. You know, she got $1 an hour. Now she can't get no time off.
Oh, a whole dollar.
A whole dollar. Yeah.
Holy smokes, that's a hefty raise there.
I gotta go to bed, guys. See you later.
All right,
Sparky, it's been a blast. See you later.
Yeah, she got almost as much as I did today. Raises came through today, so.
And Steve,
for a raise.
Steve, I was thinking that I have to put up with her too.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm going to put that in for a rule change. Ice coat, you know, that's the deal with Samantha. I mean, when we cleared her airplane and all that, we had to do it outside. I made sure she had, you know, a mask on and stuff like that. But a lot of this stuff is absorbed through the skin. That's why they make you wear a suit. You know, and I just don't think that's right for the AMA to promote that kind of stuff.
You know, I've never used dope until just recently, and I was painting on my Hyper Viper, and I noticed it made I was just putting clear on the wood, and I noticed it made my fingers numb.
Yeah. Thank you. And if you get, you know, a lot of times,
paintbrush, Rusty.
You can be doping with a paintbrush, and you can feel it tingling inside your nose.
Yeah.
You know, because that thinner is absorbing into your membranes in your nose.
Yeah.
Going right into your
that stuff doesn't have enough time to kill me, but I don't want it to make my hands any more numb than they already are.
You know, and what it is that when I worked at the chemical factory, that if someone got caught for drinking or whatever, and they did a drug test on them, you can't believe the shit that was in their blood. And the union made them print out all of the stuff, you know, to say, hey. So they drug testing people because the union would use it against them about ventilation and shit. Saying, hey, all this stuff is in our blood, and you said the ventilation's good here in this shop?
My son's an industrial chemist, and he knew going into that he'd be working with shit that would cause him to die early, probably. It was originally he was working with R&D on cancer drugs.
I tell you what, is that my dad worked in the same department and all that, and they know how long I had my cancer, so I knew what department I was working in and stuff. And the year after I started working in that department, we came out with a catalyzed lacquer. And from that time on is when the four of us all got that type of prostate cancer. Before that, my dad worked in that department and stuff. There was none of that. And I really believe it was the catalyst that we put in and worked with that was the bad thing. It's like Imran with that catalyst.
Yeah, the Imran catalyst is what got you.
Yeah, and I think this catalyst that was put into the lacquer paints, because, I could still get that. And we talk about, dope. All it is a dope with catalyst in it. And it makes it so much better for MAR resistance and chemical resistance and stuff like that. It was so many hundreds of times better that probably nitro wouldn't even touch catalyzed lacquer. But I just stay away from it because I believe it's deadly.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I don't know.
How dangerous do you guys think dope is for you?
Huh?
How dangerous do you guys believe dope is? Model aircraft dope.
I don't think it's as bad as some of the other stuff.
Okay.
But I really wonder about that too with the gun cotton, which is a nitrated cellulose.
Mm-hmm.
And I really wonder about that, because if you see the MSD sheets and stuff on raw nitrocellulose about not getting it on your skin and all this kind of stuff, it's kind of like, well, I know it's dispersed and it isn't as strong, but if you come into contact with it over and over and over, does it add up? Or can your liver and all that take it out?
I'll give you the answers, Steve. I'll give you the answers to that. That's absolutely yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was working in when I was in the Air Force. I was in a bioenvironmental engineering office, and what we did, we did deal with the OSHA, EPA guidelines for using chemicals, and our job was to go in shops and see what they use over there, how they use it, and recommend protective equipment to how to use them properly so people don't get sick. Long story short, and what happens is that there's a chronic exposure. If you are exposed to it over and over again, small amounts, right? Your body eventually gives up, right? Or you can have hard shocks, right? When you have like we do when you want to paint, that's why they say using a well ventilated area outside. There's a method to their madness when they say that.
Yeah.
But obviously, we want to have the 20-point plane. We don't want to have bugs in our finish, so we're gonna do it in a garage and God knows where else, so we don't have the bugs in our finish. So I get a 20 points, right?
Yeah.
And now we sniff all the shit, and so
Mm-hmm.
so yeah. There in epoxy in general is not the epoxy itself, is the hardener.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
The hardener is the one that does the bad stuff, right?
Okay.
The resin itself, no, but the hardener, that one is like, if you have cuts in your hand or something like that, it gets in your cuts, or something like that, it gets in your body, is not being is not coming out.
Well, I was told that this hardener stuff and all these paints and stuff like that is kind of like a cyanide based.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I think it is.
There's cyanide right there. Super glue.
Yeah.
Cyanide.
Yeah.
But it's a different cyanide. I think it's all each chemical is in on individual, and actually is not even a chemical on individual. If you look for the PAA and the permissible exposure limits for chemicals, they are per ingredient, right? So
Yeah.
it all depends on what ingredients are in your particular stuff. Uh, like for example, this is the cyanide example for the isocyanide, the super glue. Actually, that stuff it's fine. It was actually developed to close wounds for
Mhm.
soldiers, right? And yeah, even for myself, when I cut myself real bad, I just grab the super glue.
Yeah, I do it all the time.
But do the fumes hurt you? Will
Uh,
the fumes from CA hurt you?
The air's not
I think
moving.
it's
Your eyes,
irritant.
your eyes burn if the air isn't moving.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I try to stay away from the fumes. I do make a concerted effort to do that.
Well, that's why that I buy the expensive Mantis building. That's the non-odor one or whatever they call it. It doesn't work quite as well, but you know, it is foam safe and all that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've had that one time, and it did not stink like the regular.
Right. It's some kind of different deal. But that's like working there at Guardsman. We had all the MSDS sheets.
Hmm.
A
Yeah.
lot of the chemicals we worked with there, it said if you got this on your clothing or shoes, to discard them,
Promo, yeah.
to throw them away. That to pass MSD and to be safe, you needed to throw away your clothes and shoes. You know how many pairs of shoes I would have had to get rid of in a day?
Been at the shoe store all day.
Oh my God. I mean, it would have been crazy. But the company says, oh, we got the MSD sheets there and you need to go buy the safety deals.
Yeah, but Steve, think about this. If you think about even water is poison, right?
Yeah.
If you think about it,
Enough of
and
it, yeah.
that's what they say. The dose makes the poison, right?
Yeah.
It's how much of it do you get. If I put water over your head, it's gonna be poison. It'll
It's
kill you,
proven that
right?
everybody that drinks water dies.
Yeah.
No, but
But I
no,
mean,
just
some of the chemicals though, that we
jokingly
work
saying,
with
right? But
stated you had to get rid of your clothing and you had to get rid of your
What
shoes.
Dennis holding up?
come on, Dennis, what you showing us?
Put
his
it
poison
on. Yeah,
over.
call it up there. I got my poison. So
Awesome.
Oh, lager.
Kona longboard, hang loose, baby.
Mm,
Oh, yeah.
Pick your poison.
That's it. That's it. At least
Yeah.
I'll die. I'll die happy. So.
Yeah, die with a smile. An illegal smile. Well, that's not illegal, but
Yeah.
Well, just remember, guys, if the model airplane paint doesn't get you, the broccoli will.
Well, Leonard,
he's
Leonard,
right.
if you think like that, it's a bad way to think, man. It's like my dad had cancer, and the one thing that saved him is eating good shit
Broccoli.
and a proper eating, right? So and the thing is, like, your body will heal itself, but if you feed your body with shit, it cannot heal itself, right?
Yeah.
So what happened is that the doctors gave him like kind of like a Steve story, right? They gave him like 6 months to live or something like that, and he mom said, she started to study, right? And she looked in a bunch of stuff over there, my stepmom, and she found out, hey, if we do this, so you do this, so do this, and it's all like it was 90% of it was what you eat.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It was all only organic food. You cook it so limited cooking on it, right? So it have good nutrients.
Good
Your body,
nutrients.
yeah, and your body will get the nutrients, whatever it needs, and it's gonna heal itself. And he basically he was cancer free, and every time they went to the doctors, they said, whatever you're doing, keep doing it because you're doing fine. And the doctors are not allowed to tell you that because it's it's not like something that the the whatever, there's the health organization bullshit or whatever. There is a cancer treatment center in Tijuana, Mexico, and all they do over there, they get the people in there. They tell, you're gonna be in here. You're gonna be this is a hospital, and you're gonna only eat what we give you to eat. And they stay there 2 3 weeks. They feel better. They feel rejuvenated. The cancer is going away, and all they do is just eat good stuff. So yeah, I'm not saying this is true 100% or
No, no.
whatever, but
But it does happen.
it does happen.
Mhm.
It matters, and yes, absolutely does matter. And what matters, and my dad was declared cancer free about 4 years, 5 years later. And then about 6 years after he was treated for cancer, treated, right? Uh, in other words, spend all his money on the
Yeah.
treatments that nearly kill him, right? Anyways,
Treat your bank account.
he had a infection on his back, and they couldn't stop the infection with all the antibiotics in the world. Uh, Guess where the infection was? Where they did the radiation treatment on him.
Mm.
Mhm.
Exactly in that spot, right?
Mhm.
Basically, their treatment they eventually kill him.
Yeah,
Uh,
there was no healthy
Before
cells
happened
that,
that.
that had an immune system, working immune system.
Yeah, no, it's as soon as he changed the diet on his diet, the way he ate, the way, you know, everything was very strictly scrutinized in what goes in his diet, and there was a great effort done by my stepmother, you know, and
Mhm.
he survived. He was fine. It's the
That's awesome.
treatment, the actual treatment that doctors gave him that killed him eventually.
Mhm.
And
Let
that's
me ask y'all a question about the dangers of dope. We know that the vapors are dangerous while you're applying it, but what after it's all kicked off and hardened? What about sanding dust? Obviously, you don't want to inhale the dust, but is it toxic in the same way?
Well, once you're all done building it and all polishing it and stuff like that, it, if you want to kiss it and love up to it, it won't hurt you.
Yeah,
No,
but what about
and-
but what about the dust? Like he's saying, I'm curious about
I
that.
would say yeah.
All the volatiles would be gone, but the dust is still.
probably just dust.
No, well, dope doesn't completely dry for years.
Mhm.
That's why
That's
it
a good
doesn't
point.
crack until you get a 10-year-old airplane and all the
But
volatiles are out of it.
uh,
Then it becomes super hard and it cracks.
yeah, but again, dose makes the poison, and how
Yeah,
much of that
there's not a lot.
evaporates and stuff like that in a dust form.
Yeah.
You can't even
Mhm.
quantify it.
But
So
the dust is toxic, and then it causes fibrosis in your lungs. Breathing in the balsa dust, so maybe
Yeah.
if you get down to the balsa, it's more dangerous than sanding the dope.
Yeah,
All I know.
that part, I knew, and you take obvious precautions, but I was just wondering about the particular effects that the volatiles had. I was wondering if those were still present in
I
the
mean, I
Mhm.
don't know
after,
everything. Yeah,
after.
I
Last
don't know
covered
everything
our
by heart. You have
head.
to look at each ingredient in person, and then you have to take air samples of it and
Yeah,
figure out how it's used and stuff like that. It's just a whole process that you need to do. But long story short, when I was on Edwards, we didn't really worry about people using a rattle can. Yeah, even if you use a whole can, maybe a month or something like that. So uh, I mean, it just was the quantity of it was not anywhere that would get close to the
yeah.
permissible exposure limits.
Well, the one thing I always do is wet sand.
Right, you got a wet sand.
Dry
Yeah.
sand anymore.
Yeah. I would think that would be a good thing. So
Yeah, I would too.
Yeah, just a little bit of
When
smoke
you got
water,
gloves on.
sand, and you don't have to worry about it.
I think you should wear gloves when you do that. It's just, it doesn't get airborne, but it still gets on your skin.
Well,
That's
it's
just
like carbon
no.
fiber. If you sand carbon fiber, you're supposed to do it underwater.
Yeah.
mhm.
You know, but a lot of it's kind of hard to do, but you know, you can still wet your sandpaper, and that's going to cut down.
Yeah.
Get those.
Yeah, that carbon fiber is a major irritant.
Get those.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You can never find 2 weeks later. Your finger still hurts.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, old Wendy's still going. He's almost 75, and he's probably sanded more carbon fiber and dope and everything else than anybody.
Yeah, but he
Yeah.
always wet sanded. If you watched him,
Right, and he always wore gloves too.
yeah,
Did he? Okay.
yeah.
Well, when,
A lot of
and
other people
actually,
sprayed
oh, wait.
that stuff on there. It wasn't Sickums. It was he had another stuff he sprayed on there and sanded with it. But yeah, he never dry sanded.
No, he always was a wet sand guy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's like usually the dust is dust, you know, usually you don't really worry about it
Yeah.
too much unless the dust gets in your lungs somehow.
Yeah, I've been having symptoms of sinus and cold the past few days, and I've been sanding and doping. I bet that's what's going on.
I think I'd put a bit on that. I'd say I get the same thing. You feel like you're catching a cold when you've been sanding
Yeah.
a lot. It's
That's
irritating.
Remember a couple of years ago when I was on here and I told everybody I got dope sick? I'm like allergic to dope now. If I'm around too much of it, I get like I got.
Yeah, I do remember you telling us that.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a deal to where now I just got to make sure it's well ventilated, and you know I freeze myself if I'm doing it in the wintertime. I'm freezing because I got a window open and a fan in the window drawing air through my workshop.
Good idea.
You know, and I got air coming in that's like 5 degrees. You know, but
In the plastic hobby, we have a lot of resin now to make models like this that never existed. This is an old Studebaker bullet nose.
Mhm.
I'm from South Bend, Indiana. My dad worked at Studebaker's, so I gotta have all the Studebakers. But
Certainly.
this stuff is next to deadly because something about the resin or the size of the particulate, but you really have to be careful compared to a plastic model if you're sanding or making any kind of dust with this resin stuff. And you can see it takes a lot of work. You have to cut out the windows,
yeah,
just pour it in a mold. But they make these neat, like you're never going to see a bullet nose Studebaker model car until I get this built.
right.
Take another model for the chassis, and you got to scratch build some things, but at least they give you the body and some of the hardware. There's some white metal bumpers and things.
Mhm.
Yeah, a buddy of mine was telling me about that. He's a big model builder, and he was saying that he wears a damn like a painting mask when he works with that because of something.
It's really dangerous, this resin stuff.
Mhm.
But yeah,
I don't know.
it may not go any place, but I'm gonna talk to the AMA. I'm gonna talk to the lawyer and say, hey, you know, it's always been a big point thing with Samantha on how many points she gets. And you guys are promoting volatile chemicals. If something happens and she gets cancer, are you guys responsible for?
Mhm.
You know,
Well, it's an interesting point of view, and I would come at it from a slightly different way because we know that AMA has outlawed chemicals like nitrobenzene
right?
and speed fuels and stuff like that because they were dangerous. Tetranitromethane was especially dangerous and stuff like that, and it was dangerous in the ways like it was a known carcinogen.
Right.
And so attack that from the point, from the point of view is, hey, there's carcinogenic chemicals that are necessary. I don't know if that's a strong word, but they go along with the fact that you're trying to achieve a best possible
Yeah,
finish.
you want to word it carefully so you don't turn them off the instant
Yeah.
you open your mouth.
Even automotive,
Yeah.
the same
But-
way.
You know, it's like if everybody, and it doesn't matter what you really use. if everybody can only use the same stuff, then whoever does that the best will still win the concourse or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it doesn't matter. If you could only use white glue when you built an airplane, if you built it the best with white glue or whatever, you'd still win because you built the best model.
That's funny. Yeah, funny you say that. Says I've been using less and less CA and more tight bond and even a little bit of Elmer's white glue.
I've been using that stuff from England, something phenolic, and I can't think, but it works great, and it looks like CA. It just doesn't sand as nice. It's Elmer's and that have kind of a rubbery deal when you sand.
Yeah, you really can't. I don't use Elmer's any place where I have to sand it. Internal construction or gluing ribs in or something like that. That's okay, but don't use it where you're going to sand it. But I've had good luck. If I got to sand it, just use tight bond or something like that. And I'm even learning how to use it for laminating and stuff like that. So
I've been using tight bond for years. Good stuff.
Come here.
Yeah, I got mine here ready.
Yep.
There it is. There it is.
Yeah, I think the problem that we are facing right now in particular in our community is when it's kind of like when you see something that's better and you resist it, it's senseless, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see why people don't jump on something that's better and easier.
People get tied up in their own ways and they don't like change. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Sparky's pissed because he got beat at Brodex by a monocoque plane. He was monocoque. I was third.
Well, you know what? Sparky doesn't like, in all fairness, I've seen him flying, right? And he doesn't like the FAI because his plane can't corner.
No.
I will out corner him any day or night.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's the same old thing, and something like the FAI versus AMA. I don't know. It's I can't make sense out of it either way anymore. It's like, you know what? I'm going to go out, fly the very best I can, and it doesn't matter what criteria you use. I will do relatively well or not so well based on how well I fly. I mean, I don't know.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I do the same thing. Whether I'm going to an AMA contest or a MAC contest or an FAI contest, I go out and I fly the best I can. That's all I can do. And I don't worry.
Yeah.
Well, that's exactly it. And I actually I started actually a couple of Brodex ago. I completely stopped looking at scoreboards until the contest is over.
A good plan.
And I don't get my score sheets anymore, so I haven't found it. I learned from them. I considered it bad luck there. I was flying old time here at Brodak, and I thought I flew really well. And then somebody come over and says, "Man, you got it says 330." What's that? Said, well, you're in first place. I said, well, don't tell me that. So he told me that the last 4 flights of the day, 3 of the last 4 flights of the day beat me. So I went from first place to 4th place on the last 3 flights, 3 of the last 4 flights. Boy, was I pissed off.
I'll bet you were.
Yeah.
The stuff is made by Deluxe. There's Easy Dough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It works. It's kind of like polyacrylic, basically, but a little thinner. It works well, but you can't use it on flat balsa. It will do it, and the other stuff is this.
Superfatic. Is that just aliphatic though? Titebond is aliphatic. Is that what
Yeah,
that is?
yeah. This is like a thinner aliph. It's whatever the stuff is made out of. It
Mhm.
works really good. It comes with a little deal you
Mhm.
put on there. Just it goes on like CA.
Mhm.
Oh, come
Just-
on. This probably
Well,
your.
what
Which
about the
is-
Easy Goat? Why can't you use it on plain balsa just because it warps it?
Yeah, it's just like polyacrylic. It warps it. But now
Yeah, polyacrylic's got water in it.
Mhm.
on a foam wing that you fully sheet, this stuff works great. It doesn't. There's not enough pull in it to warp a foam wing or whatever.
Yeah.
But
Anything balsa wood is so sensitive to water. I think
Yeah.
that's where the problem is. The polyacrylic. We used to use that stuff a lot in the RC sailplanes, but they were typically the wings were covered with like either obeche or poplar or something like that, not balsa wood. So
I
balsa
started
is just
using this because of Samantha.
yeah.
It's a little harder to use, but it's a lot safer. And it's like I just didn't want her around that stuff. And our next thing was we were going to try to go with water base,
Mhm.
and then this UV cure stuff. But my buddy that's in the automotive stuff said that the UV cure is about as dangerous as the other.
Yeah, same thing.
You know, and so he said he goes, only thing that's safe anymore is the water-based stuff. And you still got to use a mask and stuff with that, but it's a lot safer. So,
Yeah.
and they're coming out with a lot better water-based.
Mhm.
Although water-based paint with our boys, and I've been using the acrylic enamels, which work really well for painting, and you can use them for grain filling and stuff as well. But yeah, that's low toxicity. It doesn't smell. They can paint away merrily in the kitchen while you're
That's
cooking.
water-based acrylic. You mean?
So water-based acrylic enamel.
Yeah.
I'll grab one. But there's a lot of different ones available now.
You know, that's the same stuff that Tom Creasy is using. And it's really great, but it doesn't shine like dope and everything else.
This stuff does shine. It does actually have quite a shine to it.
Oh, does it?
It does, yeah. It's quite different to normal acrylic. If you get straight acrylic, it's more of a semi-gloss, whereas that one you can get in a gloss or a semi-gloss or a flat. And
I wonder where Tom's been lately.
I don't know.
Hey, Gerald, is that a latex-based paint or is that an enamel?
It says it's an acrylic enamel, but I presume it's got some sort of a latex or acrylic base, but I don't know the chemistry of it. All I know is that it reacts very differently to acrylic, and it reacts differently to enamel, and you can thin it with lacquer thinner, which is bizarre, but you can thin it with water, so it will go either way. So
You
it's
can thin
unusual.
it, really? Lacquer thinner or water?
Yeah,
That's
so
unbelievable.
And you could probably thin it with alcohol, I would bet.
Probably.
It's not a shellac base though. It's different to those shellac based ones where you use alcohol, and it dries really quick. That's the other odd thing about it. And I've sprayed a lot of models with it and got quite a good finish with it.
What brand is that?
Oh, this one's an Australian one made by Cal. So I don't know what the equivalent you'd have in America, but it's Cal paint, so I don't know if there's anything available.
If it's a safer paint, we don't have an equivalent in the United States.
Well, the custom car shops and stuff are using auto air enamel, I think it is. It's a water base, and they use that for they use it for the color, use it for the airbrush work and stuff, and then they put some dynamite clear on it to to finish it.
Yeah.
But so I'm thinking that might be same kind of thing what Gerald is showing us there.
I think it might be because it is very different to the acrylics I've hit in the past. The consistency is different, and the way it performs spraying is very different as well. You can't spray acrylic that easily without it clogging the gun, whereas that stuff sprays quite nicely.
Yeah, yeah, that's stuff they use it in airbrushes, for real fine, foggy kind of paints and stuff like that, airbrush work and stuff. So it certainly must break down. I've read where some of the RC scale guys have had really good luck with regular old latex paint from house paint. All right.
Yeah, but that's not very fuel proof. This stuff has shown itself to be fuel proof.
Yeah, and that stuff, the latex isn't fuel proof, but mostly the RC scale guys are using like gas, not nitro, or of course they're using electric. And but they can get it in different glosses. You can go to the paint store, take a color chip, and get a perfect match at the paint store and everything like that. And I don't know. There's an option and opportunity that we it's one of those things we don't do. Why? Because we don't do it.
There was another one I tried recently. That was a more expensive brand, Valspar paint, but they color matched my existing model. I had a scale model that I crashed it. I ran out of fuel in the overhead and crashed, and I wanted to repair it. And they color matched it using a computer, a laser scanner. They color matched it exactly. It was like something like 98% chance of it being accurate. And again, that was a water-based enamel, and it was quite reasonably priced to get it color matched. And I think I painted it originally in Plasticoat paint, and I had my color match made up in acrylic enamel. Worked well, so I was quite happy with that.
The interesting thing is, I'm just thinking back about finishes and so forth. In 2012, I went to the U.S. Nats. I took a plane that was covered with iron-on, ultra coat. The fuselage was painted with just rattle can paint, and I scored 15 points on appearance. I took 3/4 of the points off the table and didn't have to do a dope finish or a fancy paint finish or anything. So I don't understand why there's such a big thing about the big dope or automotive paint finish.
I guess that's when you go to the higher level in open, and the difference between first and second and third, it's maybe 4 points, 5 points, 6 points or so.
Okay.
On two flights, if you have a 15-point finish versus a 19-point finish, that's 8 points right there. So it's a difference from winning to being third or fourth or even worst. But only there. Other than that,
only if you have a chance to be in the top 5 or 6 flyers, does it really matter ultimately then?
Yeah, not really.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that was like Brodeck 2 years ago. Samantha flew advanced and took 4th, but they had the builder of the model there, and she would have taken 2nd. She would have been out of 1st by 1 point on if you minus their appearance points.
Okay.
So it does matter in a lot, and that was in advance. So it does matter in a lot of these contests when you give up 15 points,
Yeah.
because, flying ability alone, he beat her by 1. So 14,
Yeah.
otherwise she lost by 14 points.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it matters in a lot of this stuff.
Yeah. Well,
here's some new, we haven't got to try it yet, but this is supposed to be a water-based acrylic. And we got pearlized and stuff like that. We're going to give it a try, but I don't know. And it comes with a reducer, so you can reduce it. Hopefully, you can get it thin enough and stuff like that. But I'm still wondering about the UV cure, because you can reduce that, and if you didn't have any UV, you can let it set for an hour and smooth out, and that's really where your shine's at and stuff, to where that might be some pretty good stuff. I was on YouTube looking at these surfboards, and oh my God, the surfboards they get out there now with this UV coating is something. I mean, they really shine. You know,
Yeah.
then
My
they
surfboard turned kind of yellow over the years.
Yeah. How long does your planes last? You know, I guess. But yeah,
Well,
if the stuff turns yellow, you just put a little bit of blue in it, and that will like ceiling white paint. Everybody's like, "Oh, it's so white." It's got blue in it.
Yeah, I'm not surprised at that.
Yeah, because basically all whites look yellowish unless you put a little bit of blue or a little bit of black in them.
Yeah.
It kills because blue is the opposite. It kills yellow.
I had a Hobie surfboard with a beautiful picture on it, and it looks like shit now. I bought it in 1969, though.
So if we have a plane that is 50 years old, we might have a problem. I'm not gonna worry about it.
Might not be flying enough.
I'm not gonna worry about it.
If I have a plane for 50 minutes, I feel pretty good about it. 50 years, 50 minutes.
I keep
I have an air,
That means I got 10 flights on it.
yeah, I have an airplane. that's
plane looking good for 1 year. It's a miracle.
However many months it takes me to build a plane, that's how many weeks it's going to take me to bust it.
Mine's hanging above my table here. That's that little tomahawk. Can you see it up there?
Yeah, up on the ceiling.
Hang on, let me click back on you. There you go.
There's a pylon racer and the little tomahawks hanging there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's 50 years old. That's causing the guys, a few months back trying to figure out the name of it. We finally found it looking it up.
Mm-hmm.
I never hear anyone talking about the little tomahawk. You hear about all the other flight streaks and noblers and little wizard and little
Yep.
state.
That looks like a good flying plane just by looking at it.
Is it sick?
Yeah, they had a good reputation.
Sick. Kid.
Yeah.
Still got the SIG rubber wheels are still good.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Just need
And oh, by the way, just for the record, in the basement right now, I have a 50-year-old airplane I built in. I finished it actually. I started it in 1969, finished it in 70, and it is on my. The reason I have it is going to be a test bed for paint stripping. And I'm going to see if I can strip all the paint on it and get it back down and rebuild it and bring it up to 0 time. I will have a classic airplane that was built in the classic era. All right.
That is really good.
So you actually built an airplane when you were 2 years old?
Yeah, right.
We were out at a club meeting, and Watt Moore brought a Texan out that he had started building when he was 16, and he had taken it apart and remade the fuselage and wing a few times, but he finally got it back together, and it had been sitting since he was a kid, and he maidened it out there a couple of years ago at the field, and he's 84 years old now. So from he was 16 till the time he was 84, he finally maidened it.
That's it. Well, you can't rush these things. You gotta let the paint completely gas off and everything like that, and you let it all stabilize. So, yeah.
My oldest model is that Ringmaster on the wall behind me, the Super Ringmaster. That's 35 years old. I built that, covered it with silk, and it's never been crashed, but it did get crunched once in the car. The canopy got squashed down a bit, so it's got a bit of sign. Yeah, but it's never had a prang, and I retired it a couple of years ago, though, and it hangs on the wall because my wife went to pick it up and her hands went through the covering and it got really brittle. The silk had got brittle. And
it's like Dick's nephew. It's got a Ringmaster that's got, it's 40-some years old.
Yeah, I gave it to him when he was a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Had it ever since he was a teenager.
Yeah.
Dave Wenzel got some old ancient half-A plane. He wanted me to fly it because he wasn't confident that he could do it without wrecking it. So he handed it to me, and my thumb went through the wing as soon as I took it from him.
Oops.
Oops,
Well,
indeed.
I don't know if this was a curse or a blessing for me, but I could never hold a plane for more than a year. Actually, most of my planes, after I trimmed them out and they were flying perfect, I would do something stupid, something unpredictable happen, and I would lose them.
Something
And
unplanned.
yeah, I think this is the first time when I actually flying the same plane, and I'm not flying it a lot, right? So to say I'm practically on hundreds of flights a year or something like that, and that's the Revolution is the first plane I have for more than a year now. I mean, at the Nats, actually, I'm gonna make 1 year on that plane.
It was like a buddy of mine in RC. He does all ARFs now. Because he says an airplane shouldn't last more than 2 years because otherwise your basement fills up. Everybody wants a different airplane. So he said, yeah, we're good for about 2 years. You throw them in. He goes, we have a big bonfire and we cook weenies and stuff over our airplanes. And
that's scary. That'll kill you.
Yeah, I wonder how many carcinogens are coming off that fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually he built, he's got wood in it. And we just throw one on every so often or whatever. But they turn up so fast that the monocoque goes, it's gone. Then it's just wood burning.
Nothing like a stunt hot dog.
Steve, how is the Monaco going? Like that?
Brings it all up.
Nitro flavored s'mores.
Yeah.
You know what? Yeah, and I was thinking like every year I would. By the time I was finishing a plane, I couldn't wait for the next one because I said I'm gonna do this different and that different.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do slightly different here and stuff like that, and and by the time I finish the next one, I'll do the same thing over and over and over again. It was never one that I said I'm done. It's good enough. It's like never. So that's why I say it was a blessing or a curse, because maybe it was a blessing because I learned a lot, or a curse because I spent so much time on that shit.
Now Dick, he builds all the time and he gives things away. But after I build something, I just can't give it away usually. It stays in my basement for 20 years. Yeah. But I need to get like Dick. He's got to go because I need more room.
Yep.
Yeah. So
that's my problem now. Too many airplanes.
Yeah. Well, Dick still has how many did we count that night? 50 some airplanes, but
6 or 57, yeah.
Yeah, and you probably gave away 10 last year alone.
I'm taking 3 to the Nats to give away the beginners for prizes. With
one of mine the other night, I said, yep, well, that's done its dash. I can't improve it anymore. But yeah, it's the accumulation that becomes the problem. You've got to start weeding them out at some point, otherwise you just run out of space.
Yeah.
Well, I thought about giving away, some Fox 19s and 25s and stuff like that. But they always gave me problems trying to get them to run and shit. So it's like, do I really want to give that to a kid and ruin his experience flying model airplanes?
It might teach them a whole lot.
Kid, give it to some old guy. They love that shit.
Yeah.
Don't you notice? It's the old guys that want to play with that stuff, not the kids. The old guys play with it. They still think that, it's the glory days. It's 1971 all over again. I can make it run great now. They couldn't make it run in 71, and they still can't. But they'll keep trying.
Well, yeah, I can make it run. It just doesn't run good.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, they always ran, but
where they run, they're not good. They're not going to run like a road jet. They're not going to run like a PA or even like an OS. They're not.
Yeah, I figure if I'm going to give something to the beginners or whatever, I'm going to do an electric airplane and just say, there, have fun with this thing, and it's going to run good, and you don't got to mess with it, and you don't have to have a dad that knows how to make a glow engine run. And
yeah,
my boys say we prefer flying glows, but if we built a nice scale model, it would be electric, because that's when we want it to work. We don't just want to have fun. We want it to work and not let us down. So my boys have said, yeah, they prefer the glows just for the fun, especially with combat models where electric's not practical. Muck around models where they know they're going to crash. And my youngest one, Max, loves the diesels just because of the challenge, I suppose. He just enjoys the diesels. He said, I like doing something different. But
It's having the right tool for the right job, you know,
yeah,
because in combat it's absolutely impractical to have electric. I mean, you need a huge battery to carry around. With the plane, it's not gonna turn. I mean, you can't do combat with that stuff. It's impossible, right? On the other hand, on stunt where you have consistency and stuff like that, electric is perfect, right?
yeah.
Now, to me, I mean, I tell this to everybody. If I see them at a contest and they can fly the pattern, right? It doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be anyway, right? You know, you should be able to just barely go. Even if you can fly inverted and do outside loops and inside loops, I said you are done with flying all 49 Cox engine little crap, right? And you're done with that. You know, it's time to get a plane that will perform, will fly better than you, and that's going to be consistent. And and uh, and even more, if they can fly, if I see them flying intermediate where they can fly the pattern, and I tell them, hey, your next plane SV11 with the electric system on it, you can't go wrong with that, and you're gonna learn and learn and learn and learn because that thing is gonna fly consistent flight after flight, flight after flight. The electric motor is going to run consistent flight after flight, flight after flight. All you have to worry about, where do I want to put this bloody plane? You know.
Yeah, I'm an old motorhead, and I love the smell of castor oil and nitro, and you know,
headaches.
even
trying to making motors run right.
when we sold her Kia, she goes, you know what I miss most about my Kia? And I said, what's that? She goes, the smell. Every morning when I get in, it smelled like model airplanes. You know, and I love it too. You know, and there's nothing better to go there and backflip a motor and get it to fire on the first flip. It just brings joy to my heart to do that stuff. But when it comes to really wanting to fly and have everything consistent, it's got to be electric. I mean, that was the greatest thing going over to France with an electric airplane that we didn't do nothing to it. It ran just like it did in Michigan. We didn't, you know, it must have been the same altitude. We didn't have to adjust the RPM on it. It just flew great, you know. But if we would have had to, it would have been super easy to adjust the RPM if we wanted a little more speed or whatever. But we didn't have to, and I mean, it made things so much easier when we were over there.
You could go.
The other guys were having.
You could go in outer space with that thing and still run the same.
Listen, guys, I'm out of gas. I
gotta go to work tomorrow.
Let me do my sign off spiel, and I'll let y'all have it. We'll quit recording to YouTube. Y'all can hang out and talk as long as you want. Good crowd tonight. It started a little shaky because I honestly wasn't feeling too good and wasn't quite on my game, but y'all came in and bailed me out. We had some good talk, so I appreciate that. And we still got 8 YouTubers watching, and we got some super chat donations, so I appreciate that. And so I'm gonna turn y'all loose. Y'all have at it, and until Friday, fair winds, tight lines, and we'll see y'all later.
Thanks about Rusty. I'm gonna bail too. See you later, guys.
Hey, hold on a minute.
Leonard's still awake. We gotta keep Leonard.
I'm almost asleep tonight. All right, we're off.